Are we live and recording? We are. Good morning, everybody. This is episode 54 of the Oskar Quentin Show, where I debate politics with people on TikTok. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you can find a pinned comment that'll tell you when the calls start, and if you want to find any of the oppositional calls, they're timestamped in the description as well. Good morning, everybody. Hello, Squams. That's a new username. Hello, Mr. Lonely. Hello, who do we have? We have Milk Girl. We have Jen. We have Pudgy. We've got all the familiar faces who it's like a band of a few dozen people who are usually here right when the stream starts. So hello to all of you. I'm back to the 10 Central time block, 10 to 12 every morning. I quit my job to run this show, and yesterday was my last day. So the plan is to do 10 to 12 Central time every day for the foreseeable future. I will at some point this summer take a break. I will at some point in the next few months take a day or two off. I think I've earned it. We'll see if the general public agrees. Let's get the Discord open so I can see all the important things that the mods yell at me while I'm live. They keep me on task. What is the news? It's Friday, so the news isn't going to come out until after 3 p.m. in my time zone, because that's when the market closes. So we'll hear some crazy shit about Iran. Trying to get to pronounce it correctly. For whatever reason, I just grew up in a place in the world where it is pronounced the incorrect Americanized way. Iran. We're having a war in Iran. Iran. I've been trying to fix that in my vocabulary, but that happens. Am I in Texas by chance? No, I am in Minnesota, hence the Minnesota state flag behind me. I live in Minneapolis. So I talked a little bit about it yesterday, but during Metro Surge, when ice activity was really intense here, I had to really stay kind of quiet about what my job was, because I was an educator. I worked at a high school as a substitute teacher, and I worked in their transportation department on the side as well, and that put me in a security position for students during Metro Surge, and I had to keep my mouth shut about that while on social media, and that's when I got kind of my foothold in that's when I started getting my following. The reason I was able to do live streams that got some kind of viewership right from the beginning is because I had a bunch of clips that I'd filmed of ICE agents here in Minneapolis blow up. So I had some followers. I had some traffic. What is in the news today? I will admit I'm a zombie. Well, no, I was a zombie when I went to sleep last night. I actually feel pretty rested right now. But Fridays are always tough for me because I have a gig Thursday nights that always has me up pretty late, and because I did work a pretty full week as a teacher prior to running the show in the afternoons today, this week was kind of... I've not been keeping up with the news as much as I like to. I guess I'll give the shout out to my buddies in New Jersey over at Delaney Hall. I really wish... one thing I'm a little sad about is I see myself getting into a place now where the show is profitable enough that I can do those sorts of excursions. I think I can afford to buy a plane ticket here or there, because I'd really love to have been in New Jersey for a lot of what has happened at Delaney Hall over the last few weeks, which is the building. It's an ICE detention center. So the protesters like to call it a concentration camp. I also do that, but I find maybe on this platform that's not the most useful, because it'll just get me arguing with the chuds about semantics instead of anything important. We had a conversation with a caller yesterday about what I'm going to do if the show's income really starts to eclipse my cost of living, which it's more than my cost of living for now, which is good. It means I'm sustaining, but I need to have a safety net and stuff, because I'm self-employed as a influencer, I suppose, now, so I have to be responsible about that stuff. But in thinking forward, I do think a lot about what I want to show, what I want to spend the show's revenue on, in terms of making the content better, in terms of making the Oskar Quentin brand a bigger source for just news as opposed to my particular talking points during the debates. But one thing I am thinking about is traveling some this summer, going to places where things are happening. I want to go to a Trump rally. I want to go to a Turning Point USA event. I want to go to... If it's not Delaney Hall, in a few weeks or a month when I can put a trip together, maybe it'll be somewhere else to go. Anyway, I want to get that stuff done. We're going to talk to KLOOROX, KLOOROX, and we'll see if we're going to start the day with a MAGA debate, because they've been getting harder to find. First of all, how old are you?
Yo.
Hello. How old are you?
24.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Hello? He's gonna destroy Iran.
Okay, I'm guessing this isn't a very serious call. You don't seem very emotionally invested in the subject matter you're talking about.
Why would I not be emotionally invested in it?
I think that the destruction of a country is just generally a bad thing. There's a lot of innocent people that live there.
Yes, I mean, they don't like gay people, though. Don't you like gay people?
I do like gay people. I think that saying that because a country isn't quite up to snuff on their civil rights yet doesn't necessarily mean that we should unalive those people. I think that that's not, two wrongs don't make a right, right?
No.
Yeah. Do you think that people who are homophobic deserve to die?
Do you?
No.
Okay, then no.
Well, I want to know what you think.
So, when I went outside today, the first thing that I saw was this big poster on my neighbor's lawn. It read out, Biden 2027. He's not going to be alive long enough. I don't know if any of the other candidates besides Kamala are going to be alive. There
isn't a general election in 2027 unless he's going to run for like mayor of somewhere. I don't really care what your neighbor's sign is. Why
run for your mayor?
Okay, what are we doing here? Am I moving on to the next caller? Or are we going to talk about something? We were talking about Iran. We were talking about homophobia. Now you're talking about some conspiratorial.
I'll run for you.
All right, I'm just gonna move on. I do tend to let people like. I could tell from the tone of that guy's voice when he said hello that he was a troll. But I have this issue where if I just detect somebody as a troll and kick him and move on, there'll be a bunch of people who are like, Oscar's running. Oscar must have known that guy was a worthy adversary in debate and had to run. So I really have to let them demonstrate that the call is going to be a fucking waste of time. So sorry for letting the call be a fucking waste of time for slightly longer than maybe is what everybody would prefer. But like, what is that guy doing? From the sound of it, it sounded to me like what he was really doing is exactly what I'm going to do at 12:01 when the show is done recording, which is alter the state of my mind in a way that's perfectly legal in my state and do some chores. But I don't know, man. You shouldn't debate intoxicated. It makes you bad at it. We're talking. There's the fetus in an account called number 4. We'll get him banned hopefully. Yeah, I'm honored that the fetus likes to come and grunt on my show. AP33 is this going to be a serious call? We shall see. How old are you?
23.
Okay, you sound like you might be a serious caller. Do you support Trump?
I don't.
Oh, man, that's awesome. But I am looking for somebody who does support Trump. So we're going to talk to Wyatt and see if Wyatt supports Trump. Wyatt, start by telling us how old you are.
Hi, I'm 26.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. Should I not be?
I don't think you should be.
Can you give me a reason why I shouldn't be?
I think that the president should be somebody who generally follows the laws. And my prompt today that I chose, because I read a new one every day, is that Trump is an outlaw. He doesn't follow the laws.
Well, what laws has he broken?
Well, he is a convicted felon, right? So we could talk about all the things that he does in office that I think are unlawful, that our government is failing to enforce, failing to prosecute him for. But he does have 34 felony counts on his record. This is a person who's not allowed to own a firearm.
But if he was a felon, why would he not be in jail? Before the election?
Because he was given a very light slap on the wrist sentence. Do you think that necessarily becoming a felon lands you in prison? Do you think that that's how the legal system works?
Yeah, I'd say most felons I know either spend time in jail or...
That's not what I asked. Do you think that if a person is a felon, it is necessarily true that therefore they would have gone to prison for some amount of time?
Yes.
That's false. That's not how the legal system works.
Oh. So what happens if not?
Sorry, ask the question again?
So what happened? Wait, what do you mean? If they're a felon, they definitely have been charged and spent... So you're saying a felon, you can be a felon and not spend any time in jail?
I think he may have spent like a very brief time in jail when he had to check himself. And I might be wrong about this. I'm speculating. Maybe he had to spend a couple hours in jail to do some paperwork. But no. Do you know the difference between jail and prison? It's important,
Yeah,
and
Yeah, like a state prison versus like a jail, like a holding cell or something like that.
well, just broadly, jail is temporary holding for people who are charged with crimes or otherwise being processed by the legal system, and prison is where you go when you've been sentenced, when you've been convicted. And it just, as a matter of fact, isn't necessarily the case that if you're convicted of a felony, you go to prison. And there's actually a lot of times where that makes perfect sense, because if somebody commits a lower level felony, not all felonies are created equal, maybe the best thing for society isn't for that person to be an expensive burden on the taxpayers by being locked up. Maybe a better thing is for them to do several hundred hours of community service. Maybe the better thing is for them to have a parole officer and an anger management therapist to help them get themselves under control and not recommit whatever offense it was. Like, I'm okay with the fact that not all felons go to prison. I am not okay with the fact that not all felons are barred from becoming the fucking president. That I'm pretty fucking upset about. And just as a matter of fact, like, this isn't my opinion. I'm not saying he did a thing that makes him a felon because I judge him to have done it and it's a felony. The guy has a felony record. He was convicted 34 times of a set of very similar crimes. So I will admit it is like a bunch of paperwork crimes involved in the same scheme that got him that many counts. But he's a felon. He was found guilty just a couple years ago. It was while he was running for his current term.
So, can you lie me like what his actual charges are?
Falsifying business documents in furtherance of another crime. It had to do with hush money payments to Stormy Daniels and some misappropriation of campaign finance funds, that sort of thing. Fraud type stuff.
Okay. Well, doesn't sound too bad.
Do you think the president should be a felon?
Do I think he should be?
Do you think that if somebody's running for president, them being a felon should potentially just disqualify them because they don't respect the law and order of our country?
No, not necessarily. I'm sure there's people that have been in power that have done, way worse that haven't come to light.
I started this conversation about Trump's lawlessness by pointing out that instead of talking about the giant pile of illegal stuff he's done for which there haven't been consequences, we could just point to the fact that he was convicted 34 times of felonies regarding fraudulent paperwork, which I think is ironic given how much his platform has like an anti-fraud stance. They're so upset about Somali daycare fraud. They're so upset about waste, fraud, and abuse that he handed a bunch of private information and power from the government to Elon Musk, a private entity who isn't even a public servant. Like, there's all this stuff about fraud, but he himself is some kind of fraudster. Even beyond the 34 felony counts, he's been found civilly liable for types of fraud. He's a criminal. He's a crook. He's a lifelong con man. He had lawsuits all through the 80s when he was a crooked real estate mogul. He had civil litigations against him for having racist leasing practices where they would throw out the applications of people who were people of color. They would like mark them on there's a bunch of I could just list a bunch of awful, lawless, unfair, shitty, immoral stuff that the guy does. Do you think that it would have been important to you if Joe Biden was a 34-time felon?
No, I wouldn't have cared about that either. The reason I didn't vote for Joe Biden is just because he didn't seem competent, and then obviously they pulled him out and replaced him with Kamala.
You think that Trump is competent?
More competent than the other candidate.
You think that Donald Trump is a more competent ruler than Kamala Harris? More competent leader, more competent seat of the executive branch, more competent commander of the military, commander-in-chief?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why is that? How do you come to that sort of conclusion?
I don't know. When Trump was president for the first term, I don't know. Everything just kind of seemed safer and better. I mean,
that doesn't answer my question at all.
I don't know.
Because I asked for a comparison between him and Kamala Harris, and I disagree with what you just said about Trump. But the idea that things were just generally safer during his first term and she was going to do something, that's not an argument for the fact that she was less competent than he was, or that she was going to make the country less safe. That doesn't make any sense to me. You also don't seem to care about, like, safety. To me sounds like a concern that would relate to law and order. So if you want to talk about safety, I'm going to go back to law and order, because we have law and order, we have laws, we have rules, we have enforcement, we have police officers, we have prisons, we have these sorts of things. We have felony labels to take certain rights away from people, to protect society, to make society safer. And we're talking about a president that doesn't respect those rules at all.
I don't know. I feel like the streets are safer every day.
I'm not interested in what you feel. I'm interested in what your argument for what you just claimed is, and what your evidence for that argument is.
My evidence is just daily life.
Do you think that your daily life is a good metric for how things are in America generally, given that there are 350 million inhabitants of this country?
Wait, what? Sorry, repeat that. I got distracted.
Do you think that your daily life is a good window into what's going on in the country, given that there are 350 million inhabitants of this country?
Yeah, for the most part. Or at least, my world.
Right. I'm not asking about your world. I'm asking about the country. We're not talking about your local city council. I'm not talking about the mayor of however big or small a town or city that you live in. I'm not talking about something that's hyper-local to you and your perspective and worldview. I'm talking about what things are like for the country on average, which is what we should consider when we elect a president.
I'm sure if it's better over here, I'm sure it's better over there. You know what I mean?
No, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. What do you mean over there? Where's over there?
Well, if I'm over,
do you mean the rest of the country?
Yeah, if I'm on like the East Coast, I'm sure like the West Coast is nice too.
Why would you think that?
Because the East Coast is nice. I can't see what's going on over there. I'm just,
And you can look up data about what's going on in other places. You can look up numbers that correspond to what things are like on average for large groups of people, which I think is a better way to assess what's going on in the country than assessing based on your day-to-day life. That's anecdotal evidence. You know what anecdotal evidence is, right?
So, if let's say like crime is down, is that something? Does that be a pro or a con? Because I feel like crime is down in my city, and I assume it's down in other places.
I think that all else being kept equal, it is better for crime to go down. But just because crime is going down, that doesn't necessarily mean that the president is doing a good job, because there's lots of reasons that crime can go down. I would also like to point out that it's a bigger deal to me when the government commits crimes, when the government sanctions crimes being committed. That's a bigger deal than a random person committing a crime. So I'm very, very concerned about the administration that he runs committing as many crimes as they do. Yeah.
See, I'm not worried. I'm not as worried about them committing crimes as I am people in my city like committing crimes of like violence or.
But he's the president of your city.
No, he's the president of my country.
The city that you live in is in the country, correct?
Theoretically.
I don't think it's theoretical. I think you're just being wishy-washy and you're just going to dodge everything I say with some sort of semantic nonsense like that, because I think I'm going to give you enough credit here. I don't think that you're that stupid. I don't think that you don't recognize that the president is the president of your city, even though at a local level, the person who's in charge of your city is the mayor. But further up the chain in the executive branch is the seat of the executive branch for the entire country, who's the president. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Is this a serious call? Are you just calling in to waste my time? What is this?
I think if the president was president of my city, then theoretically he would be president of the country.
He's the president of the entire country, including all of the cities that are in it.
Majority of them.
All of them.
What about like Hawaii?
Again, like I'm going to move on if you don't kind of shape up in this conversation. I have no reason to take you seriously given what you're saying. That you don't recognize that the president is the president of all the cities in the country that he's the president of?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a better candidate,
That's not what I asked. Somebody asked you the question, who's the president? If somebody asks you the question, who's your president? Who's the president of the country you live in?
Oh, that's Donald Trump.
Okay. Who's the president of your mayor who runs your city?
Donald Trump.
If we ask the police chief of the city you live in, who's his president?
Donald. Well, some people say he's not my president.
I don't agree with those people. I hate the guy, but he is my president as much as I don't like it.
Yep. Agreed.
I don't think that that's a good rhetorical device, because it happened when people say not my president, it's false. He is your president.
Yeah, that's what I know. He's not, I mean.
If you know that, then you should recognize that he's
our president.
You didn't vote for him?
No.
Well, okay, I thought that you preferred him over Kamala Harris.
No.
Okay, but you prefer him over Kamala Harris. Did you vote at all?
Yeah.
Who'd you vote for?
Trump.
Didn't you just tell me that you didn't vote for Trump? What is this?
No, I voted for Trump.
Okay, I must have misheard you. What are the three branches of the government?
Judicial. I believe it's legislative. Is this all? Was
I
it
gave you the other one. We mentioned it earlier in the call.
executive?
Yeah. Who's a politician who you really don't like?
A politician that I really don't like.
Yeah. Who do you really despise who works for the government?
I don't know. Do I have to dislike someone?
I'm just asking if there are politicians that you don't like. Sounds like you don't like Kamala Harris very much, but I want a different example.
Nah, I mean, she's not. I don't really count that. I don't know. I don't really dislike anyone. They all seem pretty cool.
Okay.
I'd have a beer with any of them. You know what I mean?
I'm going to
I'm
move
sure
on. I don't. Unless you can convince me in the next 15 seconds that this conversation is worth having, I don't think you're convicted about any of your beliefs. I think you're here to waste my time.
Wait. What's a good topic that you're knowledgeable on?
7 seconds.
Technically, if you do the number before 7 and you wave your hands up and down, you have a good.
We're going to talk to Mike Jack Rip 50 after I remind everybody that you can go to the link tree in my bio and support the show for free by following me on all the other platforms. Or if you want to be an extra special supporter of what I'm doing for free, you can go follow my backup accounts on TikTok because I'm trying to get those up to get their live privileges up so that if this account gets banned, I'll still be able to do the show. So that's Oskar Quentin 2 and Oskar Quentin Music over on TikTok. And if you want to support the show in a material way, you can do that by sending money to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. Or if you're international and those methods don't work for you, reach out to me. We'll find something that does work because the show runs on donations and I did quit my job to run the show. So I appreciate that. And unfortunately, I need to run the ad every now and then and mention it, remind people that that is how the show gets run. So thanks for sitting through that bullshit. You know, I try to be direct with the bullshitters and give them as much of a chance as possible to be demonstrated that it really is worth skipping them. But we're going to see if Mike Jack Rip 50 is going to be just such a caller as often is the case at the beginning of the show. How old are you?
45.
Are you a Trump supporter?
I am.
Why on earth?
Because he's changing the world.
I think that every president changes the world in some way or another. I think that's an insubstantive thing to say about the president.
By the measurements of world changing, Donald Trump will have the record of it by the time he's done.
And if I burned your house down, I'd be changing it a lot more than any handyman might. Is that necessarily a good thing?
Well, no. I mean that wouldn't necessarily mean a good thing unless.
Okay, so give me a reason for supporting Trump that necessarily is a good thing instead of a bunch of wishy-washy, meaningless stuff.
Okay, let's see. Donald Trump has found over 130,000 missing children. The
these numbers are.
All right, so you're not going to let me talk about Donald Trump's accomplishments, are you?
Source. I want to. I know that claim to be false, so I'll ask for a source on it.
Just Google News that one, bro.
It's your claim.
Pretty easy.
You're bringing me a claim about Trump. Who told you that?
Yeah, Google News it, bro. There you go. Google News.
Who told you? Where did you learn that?
Jeff, what's his name, or the border czar? He said it publicly. I believe it was on Fox News.
Tom Homan is your source?
Yeah. Tom Homan.
Okay, so you do recognize that members of the administration and Trump appointees regularly lie through their teeth on the television. They say things that are demonstrably false constantly.
You don't get to choose your truth and fault. You don't get to choose.
But I get to demand that you prove to me that it's true, and I just don't trust Tom Homan as a source. What's his source? Where did he get that number? Who published it?
I'm sure that if you do the research, you can find that.
So you know what the burden of proof in a conversation is?
Yeah, you have to prove me wrong.
No, you have to prove yourself right because you're the one making the claim that Trump's.
It's already right, bro. It's already fact. You have to make. Prove me wrong.
No, that's not how it works. You seem awfully convinced of that fact. How did you become so thoroughly convinced of that? Do you just believe everything that Tom Homan says?
No, because I know that of the war on trafficking has been very successful.
What was the number?
It's over 130,000. I mean, it's probably way more by now, but the first number was 130,000, I believe he said.
Okay, because you asked me to use Google News, and the number I'm getting is 3,000.
3,000. Well, I mean, you're just gonna pick the first freaking thing at the top of the list. I mean,
Well, actually, above that, there was a.
NPR. You're giving me NPR. Is that what that is?
You asked me to Google. You asked me to Google news. I Googled Tom Homan found children.
That's how research works.
So I did
look at both sides of the thing.
So I did precisely what you asked me to do, and we're looking at the results. The first result says that there's a federal report that says that more than 320,000 children either failed to appear for their immigration hearings or didn't receive a notice to appear, which is pretty vague. That just sounds to me like maybe like a big number.
We have been in a trafficking war since 2017.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you move on. Your claim was 130,000. Where did you get that number?
No, this is still. Do
you want me to click one of these or keep scrolling?
This is still the claim, dude.
No,
it's still the claim. I'm not moving on.
I Googled it.
I'm giving more ad libs, I guess you could say, more factoids to show how this is so true.
Okay.
Would you like to know, or are you just going to keep talking over?
I mean, here's something. Here's a different but closer number. What are we doing?
Yes, the war on trafficking. Are you even aware that it exists?
I'm aware that human.
Not. I know that you don't. I know that you don't. So, but you have to see now. Now you can go to Google News and type in trafficking bust. Just two keywords: trafficking bust, and you can go down the hundreds, if not thousands, by now, of record-setting trafficking busts, whether it's human, whether it's child, whether it's rugs.
What are we looking at?
Weapons.
I'm doing. I did exactly what you said.
All you have to do.
We're on Google.
It'll show you every day or every other day that a new trafficking bust is happening.
Excuse me. Can I ask a question?
There are children.
I have a question. Excuse me. I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Rescued with these trafficking busts.
I asked a question.
You can look at that.
I have a question.
I suggest. No. Hold on.
I have a question. I'm not going to hold on. I'm going to insist. Excuse me. Can I ask a question? I'm trying to understand the evidence. Can I ask a question?
Yes, that is evidence of the.
Can I ask a question?
The trafficking war.
Can I ask a question? Excuse me. I'm not going to move on until you let me ask.
Let me get anything out before you start.
I'm trying to because you asked.
Libtard, bro.
You asked me. You asked me to go to Google News and search trafficking bust. You started
losing this debate very soon, and you're crashing out.
I'm just trying to understand why you asked me to go to Google News and search trafficking bust. I did that. Why?
Bust. Now just scroll. Just keep scrolling and scrolling, and you will see evidence of a new trafficking bust happening daily or bi-daily or every 3 days. Okay,
sure.
That's been happening.
That's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing them slightly less frequently than that. Why did you ask?
That's been happening under your nose.
What does this have to do with your claim about Trump saving?
Anything about
you claimed that 130,000 children were found.
To you, I suggest that you scroll for about 4 hours today and look at all of the trafficking busts that have happened under Donald Trump's presidency.
So I'm gonna close this because I don't think it's.
You are. You can't hang, bro. Like,
do you want? Is there something that you wanted? Is there something there that you wanted me to look at?
Yeah, all of the trafficking busts that have happened under Donald Trump's presidency.
I will try that again. Excuse me. I will try that again if you demonstrate you have a basic understanding of the U.S. government. What are the three branches of the government?
Legislative, judicial, and executive. What's the deal?
A lot of my guests don't know that, so I'm glad that you do.
I do.
That's
bro.
very good.
So I mean, I know a lot of things.
That's
good.
A
lot of things you don't know, bro.
That's very good. I'm glad that you know that.
If you just listened, I could teach you.
Okay, teach me something.
Well, what would you like to know? I would like to know
who told you that.
Would you like to know more about the trafficking war that you knew nothing about?
You asked me a question. Can I answer it?
Would you like to know more about the trafficking war that you knew nothing about?
You asked a question before that. Can I answer the question that you asked before that?
Sure.
Okay, so what I would like for you to teach me
You're dodging, but whatever.
What I would like for you to teach me is who told you that Trump saved 130,000 children. I would like to see evidence for that claim.
I'm showing you. You can that's the proof right there. You can see how many thousands of children just through the Google News have been rescued under Donald Trump's war of trafficking.
Well,
you can see this. You can research this. This is not hard. You don't need to just take somebody's word for it. You can read it. Yes,
you told me to Google. But what do I
go through all of them, bro.
Excuse me, sir. Why are you?
If not thousands of trafficking busts.
That's not what I'm seeing.
Look at the thousands
of
children that have been rescued under this war. A war that you didn't even know was happening.
Excuse me, I'm going to take a moment to thank one of my donors because Royland Maine on YouTube sent me $5 in a YouTube super chat just to ask how much do I need to donate before you'll consider using the mute. That's a good question. I don't know. I think if I got
Truth hurts, bro. I know.
You know, I don't like using the mute button on my show because it makes it easier for people like you to demonstrate your character and your ability to debate to people if I'm don't.
trying to talk over you, bro, when you won't let me get nothing out. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
You can kick me if you want, bro.
I'm not going to kick you. And for $5, I'm not going to mute you. So sorry, who told you that Trump saved 130,000 children again? Because it wasn't Tom Homan. He said I looked it up. He said 3,000.
And then I just gave you the proof of how you can research it yourself.
So I Googled the thing about Tom Homan.
You need to do your research because I just brought to your attention a war that has been going on since 2017 and you knew nothing about it.
You think that the
completely clueless about it, bro.
You think that the enforcement efforts against human traffickers began in 2017? What kind of nonsense is that?
Yes, most definitely did. Yes.
We've been working on that for longer than either of us have been alive.
Well, I suggest you go look at Executive Order 13818, and I would really suggest that you go to the Federal Register when you look at that, because then you can see the national emergency that's tied to that executive order. This is another thing I know you don't know about.
Well, no,
this is another thing I know you don't know about.
So now you're actually...
I can just go on all day about things that liberals know nothing about.
I know nothing about how your brain works, and I'm really trying to understand it. Who told you that he saved 130,000 children?
Tom Homan said it publicly, but I gave you the
I searched for that.
Of where you can find that out yourself.
I searched for that. That's not the number I found. I found that he said 3,000.
Do you know what 47 USC 606 is?
Hold on, I'm going to interrupt for just a moment to thank Canadian. Excuse me, I just have to thank a donor. We can do that in just a second. I'm just going to thank a donor. I'm going to
help you out.
I'm just going to thank. Great, I'd love to do that. Can we do that after I thank my donor? Because I'm sorry, I would love to let you. What you're saying, I would love to look at that. Can I just thank this donor first? That's something that happens on the show. Is I thank the people who pay my bills. Because Canadian Vicky sent me $3 Canadian on YouTube Super Chat just to say, let this guy know he's insufferable and just yaps. I completely agree, Canadian Vicky.
I know I am. I love it every minute of it.
So again, I'm actually just going to demand further evidence of the claim that you haven't substantiated about the 130,000 children.
I'm giving it to you, bro. You're too obtuse to understand it.
All right,
I don't understand what we're doing.
Are we Googling again?
The data.
Okay,
data that they do not put this on the news. It's on local news. All these trafficking busts. If you aren't in your local area and when
what do I search?
This has happened, you're not hearing about it.
I'm on Google. What do I search?
47 USC 606.
47 USC 606?
Sure.
Okay, so this is going to be a statute. So this is going to be a law.
Yes. That we are currently under. Yes.
Okay, and it involves war powers. How is this going to substantiate the claim that Donald Trump saved 130,000 missing children?
Well, it will show you that all media has been fake probably since 2017. Since Donald Trump that's all media.
If all media is fake, how is it that you're so sure that he rescued 130?
If you read that, you'll understand that it's fake. You'll understand that what we're under
but I just don't understand how any written law could be a demonstration of how effectively that law is being enforced. We need some sort of data about the enforcement efforts, which isn't shown in the law. We're talking about the actions of two different branches of the government. The law is created by the legislative branch.
A national emergency has to be declared. We're under maybe 6 national emergencies currently.
Okay, but this is a law.
It tells you at the top of the screen when it's in effect. It updates every day, a day before.
But this is a law, and I'm asking for proof that the president has rescued 130,000 missing children, which is the only substantive claim I feel like you've made.
Bro. You can count it up yourself. If you go through the trafficking busts that have been happening over the last 2 years, you will see that there are well over 130,000.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand correctly. Let me make sure I understand correctly. You Googled trafficking busts. You looked at all of the articles about trafficking busts over the last 2 years. You added up all of them and you landed on the number 130,000. Is that how you came to the number?
It's well over, bro. But I mean, you have to understand there's
I asked you a yes or no question.
That's why
I asked you a yes or no. I asked you a yes or no question. I asked you a yes or no question. Excuse me. Do you think that this is a functional conversation? Do you think my audience can follow what you're trying to convey to me?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think you're being convincing?
I mean, I don't think your audience can follow anything. They don't know much of anything if they're liberal.
I think they would love to try to understand your worldview a little bit better, and you're just not telling me what...
But you keep going back to me showing you where Tom Homan said that we've rescued over 130,000 missing children. Now, if you want the data of that, I gave you the data of that. You can go look at all of the busts that have happened, whether it's child trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, rug trafficking. We are. You don't understand, bro.
All right, I'm going to try to understand. I'm going to try to understand. I'm going to
than anything we've ever seen.
All right, I'm going to try to understand. So you're saying that there's been 130,000 trafficking busts,
There's been more, bro. That came out in 2025. That's last year's numbers.
I'm trying to understand the evidence.
I'm just giving you a number that can be completely verified. That's all.
Okay, I'm trying to verify it. So 130,000 cases
Argue with Tom Homan, bro. He said it.
I would love to argue with Tom Homan.
Now, if you want to prove it to yourself, you can go look at all of the human trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking busts that have been posted on Google.
Okay,
News.
wait. So I have a question about that. Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So when you say that there's been 130,000 children found by Donald Trump's administration, over exactly what period of time is that number?
That's the minimum number, bro. Minimum.
That's the minimum number over what period of time? Over what period of time? 2
years.
Okay, so that's what is that? 70.
But that happened immediately, bro.
So that's 60
happened immediately.
Wait,
the moment that Donald Trump got in there, he rescued 130,000 missing children.
Wait, hold on. You said over the course of the current presidential term. Is that the time period?
Well, I mean, you can go back to 2017, but that's more.
I'm trying to understand. You're very confident about this number.
You believe that Joe Biden was a real president. So
hold on.
That's going to be.
I'm not done asking my questions about this 130,000. So it's 130,000 over the period that Donald Trump has currently been president. Is that what you're saying?
No. It's
then what are you saying?
Like 500,000 at this point. But there is nobody that has given that number out yet. So I'm not going to claim that number.
Okay, I'm trying to understand.
Has been claimed.
Why can you give me that number?
True.
Let's verify it. Let's do it. What do I do? What do I look up?
Okay, all right. I guess we have to go through this again. I understand liberals.
I have a question. I have a question.
At the claim. Go look at the claim. Right. Tom Homan. He stated it. Right. You can see that. Right. You can find it. You can see it. You can hear it. Right.
He said 3,000.
But then you're like, oh, I don't believe that. Well, how do I prove
I believe the 3,000. That actually sounds like a reasonable number.
Go to the records of all of the trafficking busts that have happened under the 2 or 3 year period, and then you can find it yourself.
But Tom Homan didn't. Simple. But Tom Homan didn't claim that. He said 3,000. So I don't understand why.
He did not. No, he didn't.
Okay, can you show me where he said that?
You can look at the video. He said there's a video of him saying it.
How do I find the video? Let's look at it. We can
Tom Homan rescues Trump administration rescues children. I don't know. It's a year old, bro. It's over a year old at this point.
Okay, so let's find it together.
And he even clowned Biden, saying, "Why couldn't he do this? We did it in 2 days. Why didn't Biden do it?"
I really want to watch the video. How do I find it?
You just have to search for it, bro. It exists.
What do I search? What's the search term?
Listen, man, I can't do all your work for you, bro. I can't. I just can't. I can't do this. I am leaving. I'm giving you the breadcrumbs to find what you need,
Here's
bro.
the thing, buddy. I know that you can't. I don't believe that you can. I want you to prove that you can by telling me what to search to find this video.
Anybody can find this video, dude. You're looking like a fucking moron.
Let's do it. Let's do it together. What do I search?
I told you. Go to YouTube. Tom Homan rescues 100.
This is the first time you've brought up YouTube. Now we're gonna go to YouTube.
I'll tell you what. You find it, and I'll go on, switch off my phone, and I'll look on my phone. So I'm gonna teacup a little bit. I'll see if I can find
That'd be great. Please do that. Absolutely. Right. Okay, yeah. So he's gonna go find the thing, and I'm just gonna remind everybody watching that this is what I do for a living. This is my day job now. Is sitting here and having conversations like this, reading out that Royland Maine sent me $5 on YouTube Super Chat just to say Tom Homan looks like my big toe and sounds like he would struggle to sort his crayons. Man, I should get my crayons out because I think that we're gonna need it to do this a meta-analysis on the number of trafficking cases. I got my crayons ready for when our guest is done being teacupped. But I will take another further moment to remind everybody, as silly as it is what I'm doing, it is my day job now.
CBS News reported 320,000 people with those keywords that I gave you.
Okay,
CBS News reported 320,000 missing children. So the numbers have gone up now, bro.
Wait, hold on.
I already know they have.
Wait, 320,000.
Research it for yourself by all the trafficking busts that have been going through this nation for the past 2 years.
320,000 what? Let's look at the article together. CBS, What am I searching? We're not on YouTube anymore, right? We've given up on trying to find the Tom Homan video.
Tom Homan saves 130,000 missing children. That's all I put in there.
Okay, what do you want me to type into Google to find this article?
I don't care what you type in, bro. But
I'd like to find the
truth, man. I don't know.
Tom Homan,
like this
CBS.
Is what I'm saying, bro. Like you're like 10 years behind us, bro.
What's the title?
Like 10 years behind us. You not understand that politically?
What's the title of the article? It's on CBS, right? Hello? You said you found it, right? What's the title of the article?
Tom Homan finds 320,000 missing children.
Okay.
So argue with that shit, bro. Like, you don't need to argue with me. You need to argue what's already
Is
out
it this
there,
article? Is it this article?
I didn't read the article. I do not know. I'm just looking at the headlines.
I'm unsurprised.
I didn't read it. I didn't go click on and read the article and then come back, bro.
Okay, so
I'm just saying that I just showed you that by a few keywords you can have this stuff start popping up.
So what it says is that
I'm trying to help you.
So what it says
on how to do research.
So what it says is Vice President J.D. Vance said in late 2024 that Homeland Security effectively lost 320,000 unaccompanied migrant children. That claim was fact-checked.
Under the Biden administration, yes.
That claim was fact-checked by the Associated Press and USA Today. Both said the claim misrepresents or distorts data.
Means something. Does that mean something to you? That doesn't mean anything to me.
It does. The Associated
Press, is that not a libtard publication?
Watch it with the fucking slurs, dude. Like I'm gonna risk.
No, bro. I talk how I want to talk. If you don't,
I'll have to disconnect you if you keep doing that. I know the
information you don't, bro. So you're the one that's gonna be losing.
You asked me a question. Can I answer it?
Sure.
I trust the Associated Press more than I trust USA Today, but I trust the Associated Press quite a lot, and I have something additional to say, which is that regardless of whether or not...
That's your problem. That's your whole problem.
I have
you
something...
don't know what news, what
something additional to say,
and what is not good, bro.
But this number is not the number of children they're saying they...
And I just told you that 300... That 47 USC 606 shows you that all media is controlled by the hands of Donald Trump.
I'm trying to understand the evidence. I'm so stupid I can't understand it. Help me understand. Help me understand why 320,000 children missing means that they rescued 320,000 people. I don't understand.
No, that's under the Biden administration. They couldn't find 320,000 missing children, and then when Trump got elected, he found them.
Hold on. Here, I'm going to read these.
He rescued them and put them back to wherever they need to be.
They didn't physically find them.
No, they did, bro. Don't try to
Here, just do me a favor.
CB News. Listen.
Read this out loud.
That's a libtard.
Can you see what it says on the screen?
Bro.
Can you see what
libtard publication?
Stop saying that or I have to disconnect you, dude. Can you read this paragraph for me? Read this out loud.
It's too small, bro. I'm 45 years old.
Let's make it bigger. All right, I want you to read this paragraph. Hold on, let's get it up here. There we go. Here. Where did it go? There we go. This section right here. Can you read this on the screen right now?
I'm not gonna read it, but I mean, why can't you read it?
I will read it because you're refusing, because I think
it doesn't mean anything, bro. What I'm trying to tell you is the information exists.
This is your source that you brought me.
And if you go look and do your own research rather than with these libtard
I'm trying to research it right. I'm trying to research it right now. This is your resource that you told me to look up.
No, it's not. Dude, I gave you keywords to make shit start popping up. There you go.
It says what it says a federal report.
You tried to act like there isn't even any information on this shit.
I'm trying to read what you told me to look up.
No, I'm not citing that article. I have no idea what that article says. All I know is that
this is the article that you told me to.
There is a discussion about it, right?
There is a discussion. There's a discussion of.
So what do you think the right-leaning publications are saying, bro?
I'm trying. This is what you asked me to look up.
That's what you need to do. You need to measure them both and then come up with your own conclusion.
Why did you tell me to look at this article?
If you really look at the data, genuinely, you will see Donald Trump is saving a lot of children.
But that's not what this says.
I don't care what that says.
Then why did you tell me to look it up?
That's not the article I cited.
What is the article you cited? Let's find that article.
I'm not cited. I cited a video. I gave you, bro, a way to find the video.
What do I search?
I told you what to search.
Tom Homan
says... actually, just put Tom Homan says 300,000 missing children have been found. Put that
300,000.
Maybe I'm low on my number.
Missing children have been found. Okay, so I searched that. Maybe you'll recognize the thumbnail. Which video is it that I'm supposed to watch? It says Tom Homan exposes what happened to 300,000 children. Is that what we're supposed to watch? We've got to remove them for what? Let's see. Yeah, flagged for misinformation. Oh, yeah, that's unsurprising. That's very unsurprising. What a call. My goodness. Do you guys think that guy really cooked me? Jen the mod over on YouTube Super Chat, she sent a $2 YouTube Super Chat to say, spell it so I can learn. Yeah, spell out how to find the evidence of that. Oh my goodness. Man, I'm just so cooked. I don't think I can ever recover from how thoroughly that guy cooked me. If you think that I'm so cooked and I need some burn cream, send some money to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon, which can be found in the link tree in my bio, and I'll spend that money on burn cream for how thoroughly that guy has cooked me through. Well done I am after that conversation. Oh, okay. Oh man, that was Mike Jack Rip 50, so we're gonna decline him. We can maybe talk to him a different day, but we're gonna talk to Average Guy, who's not your average caller, but he still has to remind us how old he is. But while he connects, I am just gonna say that Joe Cooper sent me $6 on Venmo to say the claim that the Trump administration saved 130,000 children from human trafficking is misleading. The figure originates from a DHS-HHS effort that located over 129,000 unaccompanied migrant children, locating the children, not saving from trafficking. Yeah, so the system had lost track of some people and we found them, but these children were with their families largely. These are not kids locked up in basements. I happen to be aware of the bullshit that the guy was trying to convince me of. I just wanted to give him the floor and see how he did with it. But anyway, Average Guy is on the line. How old are you, Average Guy?
26.
Do you support Trump?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a couple more super chats to read. I'd like to get those out before I get into the call with you, because unless you're rude like the previous guy was, I'd like to not interrupt our conversation to read out the super chats if I don't have to. Tavi over on YouTube Super Chat sent me $5 and said, "Caller, your information is disputed by multiple sources. That's the end. It's not a fact." Yeah, I mean, I don't think that guy was interested in reading or hearing anything. Jazz Bearing Crab sent me also $5 on YouTube Super Chat to say, "This motherfucker is 45 years old and still acting like this. Jesus fucking Christ, the brain rot is real." I agree. I think it's embarrassing that he's that age and behaving that way. I have a little bit of leniency for when children behave that way, but that man is not a child. And oh my goodness, actually, there's more from Joe Cooper on Venmo. I missed a few notifications here. Ashley sent me $1. What did she want to say? $1 still gets you a message read on the show, everybody. Ashley says, "I'm well versed on what he's talking about. The missing children was actually paperwork that was missing. The counted children who didn't show up to court dates. They were never missing. Read from AP News. He's an idiot and doesn't know how to research or fact check." Yeah. I was trying to explain that to him, that's what it said, is that's how many people didn't show up for court dates. They're not suddenly a victim of human trafficking if you miss a court date, or if your parents miss a court date, or whatever it is. Joe Cooper is adding the same, says, "The children lost during Trump's family separation policy in his first term, where they separated children from their parents. So this is his fault." That's a good point. He is responsible for a lot of that stuff because he was president kind of recently, in addition to his current term. Thanks everybody for the donations, and thank you for your patience, Average Guy. You're 26 and you're a Trump supporter, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, why do you support Trump?
Primarily his stances on illegal immigration.
Okay. What do you like about his stances on illegal immigration?
Well, first, can we both agree that illegal immigration is a problem?
No.
Oh, okay. You don't agree on that. Okay.
I would prefer that there not be illegal immigration. Like, it's a small problem, but the reason I wouldn't co-sign that is because I think that there's a lot wrapped up in when you say problem. Because I don't think it's a big, substantial problem for you or me. I don't think it makes the country less dangerous. I don't think it's bad for the economy for there to be these illegal immigrants. I think it is a problem that we have some people who aren't properly in the system. I'd prefer they be in the system, and there are pathways to that I probably disagree with you about. So we could talk about what a problem is if you think they're a problem. I think it's a problem for some pretty minor reasons. Sounds like you think they're a problem for some pretty major reasons. Is that accurate?
There's a handful of issues that I have with legal immigration, like the fiscal impact, the problem that it has.
Let's focus on that. What is the fiscal impact of illegal immigration? Okay.
Well, can we both first agree that they are a net drain on the American taxpayer, meaning they take more services than they contribute to?
Oh, that's very much false.
Okay. How do you get that? And let me say, I calculate that number based on taxes paid versus services used. Mm-hmm. And you do the same calculation?
Yeah, they pay something like $100 or $200 billion in taxes in a given year through tax ID numbers because the IRS doesn't.
The highest number is 96.7 billion a year. That's the highest number I've seen and that's including state, federal, and local.
Okay.
So we both agree that that's the number for calculating, what their contribution would be.
We could look at exactly where it is, but that's kind of close enough to the range I gave. Like, we can call it about 100 billion. Yeah.
Well, you said first 100 or 200 billion. I'm just saying the highest estimate's 90.
I'm saying that instead of spending a bunch of airtime seeing who's exactly right, I think that we were close enough that we can say it's about $100 billion. Would you say that that's fair and accurate?
Yes, about 100 billion, not about 200 billion though.
Okay, sure. Let's go with
that's important.
Okay.
So the next calculation would be how much do they use in services?
Something like 50 or 60 billion, right? I have a source that's like a big report on that I haven't read in a while. What's your number? What's your source?
You could just Google it. It's about 180 billion.
Okay, so what do you want me to Google?
Type into Google how much do illegal immigrants cost the U.S. taxpayer. That's probably fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so that talks about a net. They claim that's the net fiscal impact. But
okay, I don't particularly like the AI overview. I mean, we can look at some of the sources that it wants, and we've got the financial guys. That's not a source I've heard of. Do you trust them? Who are they?
That's not who I'm quoting. If you scroll up, you could see 182 billion is roughly the
American Enterprise Institute. Who are they? Do you trust them?
They're probably going down below. Like if you click on that link, we can go into.
Hold on. I asked a question. I asked a question. Do you know who the American Enterprise Institute is, and do you trust them?
No, but I could tell you that's likely someone quoting FAIR.
Okay, then maybe we should just go see what FAIR says. Okay, I already kind of just don't like this whole I don't know who they are, but I don't care. I mean, maybe it's a good source. I'm not familiar. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so if you go to the sources section, I can almost guarantee that they're quoting FAIR.
Okay. Is there something you want me to control F? What are we looking at?
I mean, you just were curious on the source. I'm just telling you they're probably quoting FAIR.
We will see. So I clicked on it. What now? I'm following your lead here.
Okay. My main thing wasn't just to go into this document. It's we could go to the Federation of American Immigration Reform, which is where this report's coming from. That's the 150 billion.
Okay, hold on. I'm going down your research avenue here.
Okay,
imagine these are your hands. Tell me what to do with them to show your evidence to my audience.
Yeah, just scroll down to sources then.
Okay, I'm gonna hit Control F and type in sources. The only time the word source appears in this page is in this paragraph where it says, as it does too, here are 10 key facts on illegal immigration drawn from sources on the political left, right, and center. Okay, here we go. So it lists some...
Click on annual costs.
Okay. I'm going to open that in a new tab. Okay, and what's this? This is fairus.org.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Fair is anti-immigrant, right? Why do you trust fair?
Based on
Why do you trust fair?
What do you mean? Why do I trust FAIR? Just because they're anti-immigration means they can't come out with factual information?
Yeah, I try not to take immigration data from sources that have a particular bias to immigrations.
That's called a genetic fallacy.
A genetic fallacy?
Google what a genetic fallacy is while you're at it.
Yeah, that's a new one for me. Maybe it'll genetic fallacy.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Genetic fallacy. I'll read the Wikipedia blurb. The genetic fallacy, also known as the fallacy of origins or fallacy of virtue, is a fallacy of irrelevance in which arguments or information are dismissed or validated based solely on their source or origin rather than their content. In other words, a claim is ignored or given credibility based on its source rather than the claim itself. I'm not trying to ignore it. I'm just saying that I'm actually so here. There's two ways that we can do the genetic fallacy according to this Wikipedia blurb, which is we can do one of two things. We can either ignore the claim or give it credibility. I'm not trying to ignore it. I'm trying to understand it. You are giving it credibility. You are committing the genetic fallacy.
I'm giving it credibility based on its content and its methodology. You're trying to discredit it based on who they are and what they claim to be.
Okay, so if you're aware of the content and the methodology, where did FAIR get their information, and why are we referencing FAIR instead of getting where that information was referenced from? What was that methodology?
Yeah, so they collect tax information and services rendered information on a federal, state, and local level. They take this is a totality report, meaning they take all the cost racked up from education, healthcare, even law enforcement services, and gives us a clear picture on what exactly are we paying on this issue.
Okay, but see, I see this fancy looking graphic where it's like, it's like a bunch of clip art of like American flags and bags of money to make it, simple and appealing to Trump supporters. But this number of like total national expenditures, like, okay, so that comes from total federal expenditures and then total state and local expenditures, and then we have state and local taxes. So it's like adding this up and saying that the net is really, really bad. So I think the thing that's interesting to me is this section up at the top where it says total federal expenditures and total state and local expenditures, and I don't know where they're getting those numbers. Do you know? Well, you said you understood the methodology.
Yeah, they go into great detail in the study. Like they take things from the census.
Okay,
from
but
BLS,
wait, hold on. I have a question.
From Department of Education.
So prove to me that what you said just a moment ago is true, because you said that the reason you trust the source is because you are aware of the methodology and you know it to be good. So I am asking, what is the methodology by which they came from these numbers? You said you were familiar and understood it and that it was good. What is it? Show my audience that was true when you said that.
Yeah, I mean, we can go through the study if you want.
I'm not asking. No. I'm asking to get it from your brain because you claimed that you understood it. Show me that that's true by explaining to me what that methodology that you said that you understand is. What is that methodology?
Yeah, for example, if you want to figure out how much undocumented immigrants are using in, say, educational expenses, you can go to the Department of Education and see what's the average cost on a student going to school in America using the public K through 12 education system. That number's right about $18,000 a year. And then we can take how many kids there are in America going to our K through 12 schools that are due to illegal immigration and get a rough estimate there. That's an example of how they're doing things like that. And then you can take a compilation of hospital data, figure out what exactly we're paying on for healthcare. It's the crazy part about this to me.
So my problem with this is that you understand that when you add an additional person to burden a system, like you add a student to a school district or you add a person to an emergency room because they fell and broke their arm or something like that, the amount of money that it costs to serve an additional person is not necessarily the same as the individual burdens for the people who are supposed to be using that service in the first place, because we don't have to build a new hospital in order to let an immigrant use an emergency room all the time. There's not a one-to-one. There's not a linear relationship there.
That's a little misleading because hospitals are based on population, and as we know, we have at least 15 million undocumented immigrants in here. So we certainly have, quote unquote, built more infrastructure to support a higher number of
that's
people.
true, but what I'm saying is that you can't take a program like healthcare or a program like education and just divide it by the number of people who use it and say that the marginal cost of an additional person using it is therefore the average cost of any person using it. That's just not how the data works. It's not how the experts look.
How would you calculate it?
I would look at what it costs the hospital to serve an individual instead of what the hospital costs to run overall.
Well, that's not an estimate. That would be actually having like the
I'm trying to do this with as few estimations as possible.
Well, that's the problem. It's not like they're going door to door at the hospitals and saying like, "Give me your financial paperwork and the immigration status of each of your."
I mean, the number, like the number that you listed,
but the estimates are still valid.
Okay.
By the way, just so you know, a little background on this. This report's taken very seriously. They've used it through Congress.
More authority arguments. 18,000 sounds pretty reasonable for education, and it does sound like you understand this methodology. And what I'm pointing out is pretty minutia about how data is collected. I just wanted to point it out because it is important that we consider that marginal cost versus average cost, which is different in services. But it does sound like you're educated on this. Okay, so what of this? What is it? 180 million. How much of that is hospitals and schools?
180 billion.
Yeah, I misspoke. 180 billion.
It breaks it down below. I know the number one cost is education, and then healthcare follows it. Don't remember the exact numbers on that.
This report examines the annual fiscal impact of illegal aliens on both federal. Oh, I might have to read this. It's dense. Let's see.
No, there's an illustration somewhere in there that.
Well, I'm just being straightforward and saying that like they put this report together to try to convince people that illegal immigrants are a drain. It goes against some of the sources that I have. So to analyze this, it's a big document. I'd have to read it. I'd have to read it pretty thoroughly.
That's fine. We can go to some of your sources that you're more familiar with.
Oh, what do I have on that? Let's take a look.
Probably Cato, right?
The Cato Institute does have a good study on that. I think I have that one bookmarked.
Yeah, the problem with the Cato Institute, we'll just get into it. Go ahead and pull it up.
I'll just Google it. Can't type today. That was their title, right? Cost of Illegal Immigration?
No, definitely not.
Something like that. I know I'll find it quickly. Yeah, February 3rd. I remember the date. This one. Ooh, no, this isn't the report.
So right off the bat, hold on. Look at the title. Well, this is a problem that a lot of people do. They try to jumble in legal immigrants with illegal immigrants. The problem with Cato is they deal with immigration as a whole. And I look for studies that actually delineate between the two, because as we know, legal immigrants are high skilled laborers. And they're also more likely to be entrepreneurs. Like, they're very beneficial to our society. So that's why it's very important when looking at studies to make sure that they delineate between the two.
Sure.
But guest, your source is also lumping in undocumented and legal immigrants together, because for the education dollar amount, they're using kids who are birthright citizens. Mm-hmm. They're counting them as undocumented immigrants.
Well, that's a result of illegal immigration.
Oh, well, the kids the kids are birthright citizens.
Sure, but it's still a result of illegal immigration.
But the kids are birthright citizens.
I understand that. I've said twice, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying there's still a result.
I don't think you do, because they're counting them as a cost, but they are U.S. citizens.
They are a cost associated with illegal immigration. When we allow people to come over here and have kids, who has to pay for those kids?
Oh, is that what it is? We're talking about fucking citizens?
Yes.
Oh, fucking okay. I was sitting here like, why isn't this adding up? This goes against everything I know about the numbers on illegal immigrants. It's because they're not illegal immigrants. It's because they're citizens. You don't believe in the fucking Constitution. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. All right, I got it.
Thanks for the rescue. Thanks for
this deflection multiple times. I mean, it's...
Wait. True or false?
For example...
You're not talking about illegal immigrants. You're talking about data that includes citizens. My data included immigrants generally, but your data includes citizens. Is that correct?
It includes citizens that were children of undocumented immigrants.
Okay, so you don't believe in the 14th Amendment?
No.
That's what the conversation's about.
By the way, even if you take away that, like, you act like this is a gotcha. Even if you take that away, it's still a net drain. You're acting like that makes the $150 billion difference.
But
let's not pretend like that discredits the whole story.
Don't pretend that you can say that it doesn't account for enough of it to make you wrong, because you're showing me data about illegal immigrants that includes citizens.
Children of illegal immigrants. It's at a cost associated by the...
True or false? Your data includes citizens.
Yeah, birthright citizens of illegal immigrants, yeah.
Yes. So those are citizens. Those are people who, according to the Constitution, have the same right to that education system that I do.
This is another fallacy, trying to pretend like your slight disagreement with the methodology somehow discredits the overall picture, and this is how we get sidetracked.
No, it's not about methodology. It's just about that the data isn't about illegal immigrants. It's about citizens. In full honesty, was sitting here for a few minutes confused about this data because it did appear to prove me wrong. So I was trying to understand it, and Will rescued me because he knew what I was missing that you were very conveniently leaving out, which is that your data about illegal immigrants is about citizens.
That's a very small portion of it. I know you want to get away from it.
What percentage of it? What percentage of the people included in that data is citizens versus illegal immigrants? If you're so confident that it's a negligible percentage.
We can look it up, but it's not $150 billion. I can say that with confidence.
Well, school is one of the most expensive things that we allow people who are illegal immigrants to use, because it is very short, the list of government services that are available to illegal immigrants. One of them is the emergency room, things like fire department, emergency services, and schools. That's pretty much it, because they can't get food programs, they can't get free health care outside of like emergency room visits. They can't get Medicaid or Social Security is what I was trying to think of. They pay into these programs. So
here's the problem, though, Oscar. The problem is, according to Federation of American Immigration Reform, the education slice of the pie is 47%. Even if we slice that out, and let's say like we don't have to, let's pretend like education isn't even an expense. It's still a net drain. And I know you really want to get away from this because you don't want to deal with the repercussions of bad economic and immigration policy. But the problem is, even in your scenario where let's say not only do we rip out illegal immigrants from the education system. Let's rip out everything. Birthright citizens from the calculation. Let's rip out education as a whole, the entire slice of that pie. It's still very expensive, almost $100 billion.
Okay, but I'm really stuck on the fact that you think data that includes citizens is important in your argument against illegal immigrants. It makes me concerned about your belief in the Constitution.
No, see, this is another fallacy where it's like you're trying to hang on to this and say, oh, this includes something that I don't think should be included. And I'm even steelmanning you and saying, okay, even if I say, which I definitely think that that's a cost associated with illegal immigration, but even if I steelman your response and say, all right, let's rip it out. Let's not only rip that out, let's rip out everything. It's still a net drain.
Well, I mean, but there are so many sources that counteract the conclusion of this big math problem that your source has done. I mean, Cato Institute, which is also right-leaning, has the same thing. They have well, I just found it while I was talking, which is that they have it's a different report because where they focus on specifically illegal immigrants. I found it in the blurb. Let me make sure I get the right Control F here. From the Cato Institute directly. What about illegal immigrants? Illegal immigrants also pay taxes directly or indirectly. We estimate that at least before President Trump's mass deportation campaign, illegal immigrants were complying with income taxes at about 75% the rate of the average person, which is 80% of the required amount. This is because illegal immigrants work often with borrowed, fake, or stolen identities under which employers still withhold their taxes about half the time. They also file for refunds at a much lower rate. The result is that illegal immigrants have paid about $3 trillion in taxes over the last 30 years, which is what is that? That works out to 300 billion over 10 years. Is that right?
No. That's so if you're talking 3 trillion over the last 30 years, that would estimate about 100 billion per year, which that's pretty high. I want to actually, where do they get that number from? Because the highest number I've seen per year was fiscal year 2024, and they're claiming that.
That's exactly what at the beginning of the call I did say, by the way, which is about 100 trillion or 100 billion a year.
Yeah, but that's like setting a new record after Biden let in.
That's an average. It's an average over the last 30 years from the time this was published. Which
okay,
was up
I won't split hairs there, but sure.
Okay, net fiscal impact, what this Cato Institute article is saying is that the net fiscal impact is a positive one. That's like their conclusion here.
How does it come to that conclusion?
Okay, what exact math are we doing here? See, this is one of those calls where there's going to be dead air while I read, but that's okay because I'm
fine with that. I'm not here.
Yeah, it's not about you. It's just I got to run an entertaining show, but I'm not gonna sacrifice the quality of the research for the entertainment on a call like this one. Let's see. Of course, taxes are just one side of the fiscal ledger. In our full study, we analyze how immigrants also receive fewer government benefits. The net result after accounting for benefits received is 14.5 trillion in debt reduced from immigrants. Yeah, that's debt reduction. That's good over that period.
Correct. But that's including legal immigrants. That's the problem with the Cato study is you have to constantly go back and forth with, they're talking about illegal immigrants over here.
Wait, hold on. And 1.7 trillion from illegal immigrants, and this is a reduction. That's a reduction in debt. That's a good thing.
Well, just because that's the problem with only taking into consideration taxes paid and not how much they actually, like, for example, what does Cato quote them costing the U.S. taxpayer per year?
Well, hold on. We can look at the full study and methodology here, apparently. Was this referencing? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Right. So this larger report on immigrants does have information about illegal immigrants in it. And that data does support my side of the argument.
Okay, I'm trying to Google it. Just Googled what does Cato claim undocumented immigrants cost. They never give a number. From what I'm seeing,
it's because they don't cost anything. They are a net benefit to the tax system for the reasons we just looked at. Like I'll admit that I had a hard time debunking your source until Will came up and told me that it uses citizens data about illegal immigrants, which again calls the entire study into question. I haven't analyzed that enormous document we looked at, but if it includes citizens in information that it's making claims about illegal immigrants, that suggests to me I really need to scrutinize it, which I don't really have time to do on the air here. But I also happen to know that the Cato Institute, which is right-leaning, agrees with everybody on the left who looks at the actual data released by the government about what these people cost to the tax system. And yeah, I'm not seeing a good counter argument to the claim that they have a not enormous, but definitely beneficial effect on the tax burden.
Okay. So the problem with you just saying that is to this moment, even though we went through your whole Cato study,
We didn't go through the whole thing. It's a big, complicated document, just like the one that you brought up.
We went through a lot of it. And the problem is that
we went through the conclusion where they reduced the federal deficit because they have a net benefit effect on the tax system by a number measured in a small number of trillions of dollars over the course of a few decades, which is substantial. That matters on the budget.
But you can't make that comparison if you don't know how much they cost.
That number is their net effect. So that number includes the cost.
Okay, show me where they calculated their cost. Because that's the problem I keep coming up with on the Cato Institute. And I guarantee you that their researchers didn't just forget to calculate that. They're a libertarian pro-immigration think tank. They're not going to release data that goes against their message.
Just looking at the table of contents of the source I just showed you, there's a page header called Why Illegal Immigrants Were Fiscally Positive. It's page 34. Do you want to sit here and look at it?
Sure, I'm sure they believe that. It's a pro-immigration libertarian think tank. But I the same thing you're doing in my study, I'm putting their motives into question as well. Your source, you looked at 1 year of data, right? It gave a particular year. It gives a yearly amount, but they release a report every year.
Right. So they did this based on one calendar year. They did this analysis, and what Will pointed out. Thank W in the chat for Mod Will for fucking rescuing me on that, because I didn't know what I was looking at. They included citizens in their calculation, which throws the whole thing into question. Whereas this is a 30-year analysis.
You keep saying that, and I'm so curious how you can keep saying that after I steelman that position, where you're trying to discredit it because you disagree with the
I recognize that those children
the outcome of illegal immigration also is included in the cost of allowing it to happen. If you let 100 illegal immigrants come over here and they each have 10 babies apiece, that's going to be very expensive on the American taxpayer.
According to the Constitution, that doesn't matter, and I'm concerned with what it says in the Constitution.
No, I'm not saying it shouldn't be allowed. I'm saying that it is a direct cost associated with the illegal immigrants bypassing our immigration law and coming over here and having.
But the Constitution says that that's allowed, so I don't consider that the cost of wrongdoing, because they have the constitutional right to be citizens and use our resources in the way any other citizen would.
But when thinking about making policy and thinking about how can we save people money, the whole thing is you're saying it's allowed, it's a loophole, it can happen. I'm saying I understand that. I'm not saying go and arrest these kids at the schools. I'm saying that a reason why we should
I have problems with your methodology that you're not letting me to spend enough time on. You keep moving to different concerns. It's great that you're trying to steelman my argument, but you're not even letting me answer to it, which is that I recognize that the fact that those children were citizens doesn't make up the entire difference in the discrepancy between Cato's data and FAIR's data. I recognize that completely. I also recognize that you see the causal link between illegal immigration and those people who are citizens being here. What I'm saying is that the former of those things calls into question the entire study, which I haven't analyzed, and because they got something that catastrophically wrong, including citizen data when talking about illegal immigrants, I consider the whole thing worth scrutinizing further than we have on this show, so I'm going to remain agnostic to it, and I do have the Cato Institute, which is something I have scrutinized more. But the other part of it that I don't like is that you still have just failed to recognize the fact that according to the Constitution of this country, those people are citizens, and it is unconstitutional, unpatriotic, un-American to consider them a drain because they're using resources. Every child born in this country is a drain. Children are a drain for most of their adolescence. Very few people even become a positive effect on society until they're into their 20s or 30s. What's your point? Yes, children are expensive. They're the next generation.
For example, when talking about fiscal policy, and we're saying Medicaid's very expensive, it costs $1.9 trillion a year to support. Or when you talk about the Department of Defense, our entire defense spending is $1 trillion. It's not unconstitutional to spend $1 trillion on this. The question is, should we do it? The question is does the costs.
It's
far outweigh the
unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional for you to consider it an undue drain on the taxpayer system to give those children an education, because according to the Constitution, they're citizens. You don't respect or value the Constitution when you add up your numbers about what's going wrong in this country, because according to the Constitution, those children going to school isn't something going wrong. And I would say that without making a constitutional argument, I can make the ethical argument that even if the children themselves aren't citizens, if they weren't born here, if they were brought over by their parents, they're still children, and it is still a good thing for us as taxpayers to do, to educate children.
Look, I get the moral like high ground thing. The problem is you're talking
That's
about
a separate argument.
Hold on.
Okay, yeah.
America's not flourished with wealth. Okay, we're trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. It's important where we're spending our money, and we have to make decisions.
Now, if you're gonna move on to a broader argument, I'm gonna take a moment to thank all the Venmo donors, because Joe Cooper sent another $3.
I got a dip anyways, but thanks.
I'm sure we'll talk again. Thanks for hopping up. Joe Cooper said, these types of studies always leave out the economic revenue generated from undocumented immigrants. 70% of the U.S. economy is consumer spending. If you remove 14 million consumers from the country rapidly, our economy would suffer, not to mention the businesses they create. Yeah, we were just talking about the tax burden. We were just talking about taxes paid and services used. We weren't talking about the fact that these people represent more than half, just slightly more than half, of the labor force in our agricultural system. These are the people who grow our food. And all that money that they're making and paying taxes on, they spend that money on things in America that improve the GDP. So there's all these other angles here. But I will admit that Will had to rescue me on that source because I wasn't familiar with that particular pile of bullshit. But that's what these right-leaning organizations do. They take a bunch of data, they make a bunch of convincing looking graphics, and it's people like me who have to sit and now keep that tab open and study it later, so I'm better able to refute that later because had to be rescued by the mod. W mods, because I cannot run this show by myself. I'm but one man. But I've got a bunch of little Venmos to read, so I'm going to read through them. I'm going to thank Mark. Mark sent me $3 just to say, please yell at this guest. That's not what fallacy means. Yeah. I should have done that. I wouldn't have minded yelling at that guest. That wouldn't have. I don't think I would have felt bad yelling at him. Darius sent me $5 to say, do me a favor, read the fallacy to the caller. He doesn't, he's the reason I hate Phil Bros, and I actually took philosophy in college. I also took philosophy in college. I was the president of the philosophy club, and I quit because I hate Phil Bros. Ugh, misogynistic bunch of neckbeards. We're going to read Tammy's message for $10 on Venmo. She sent me $10 to say, you're great at this debate thing. Sounds like Average Joe has some confirmation bias. Did he look at any other sources, or did he stop at fair because it fits his narrative? That was the accusation I was going to go, but he was kind of gish galloping from argument to argument about the source, so I didn't even really get to make my general accusation about his approach to information gathering. But I agree with you completely. I think it's confirmation bias, which is why those sorts of reports exist, because they know people will read them and just confirmation bias themselves into believing it without scrutinizing it further. And he's read it through. Kenneth, I see you. I'll read that one out in a moment. Steven sent me $25 on Venmo. Thank you very much. He said, got paid, so sending a little to help. Great show, man. You're doing great work. Appreciate you, Stefan. Sharing the love. Because, I don't get a paycheck anymore because I quit my job to run this show. So Steven sent me a little bit of his paycheck so I can run the show. Very much appreciate that, because the show runs on contributions from viewers like you. Do you guys remember that commercial from when we were little, or when I was little? Gene sent me $12 to say, guests should have answered what happens to the grandchildren of illegal immigrants. Should they be classified as a problem too? Love what you do, Oscar. Keep going. Yeah, that's just the thing. It's that everybody's parent, if you go farther back, unless you're a Native American, everybody's parents, my grandparents on my dad's side were World War II refugees. Does he have a problem with World War II refugees birthing children? My mom is an immigrant. I grew up in a household where my mom had a green card and she only became a citizen recently. I'm a first generation child of immigrants on that side of the family. What does it matter? She wasn't an illegal immigrant, but I mean, maybe we didn't really get into his thoughts about legal immigration. Oh my God, so many donations. Sorry for the big mid-roll here, but I got to thank the donors because is this from yesterday? No. There we go. Cash App's always quite low. Michael sent me $2 on Cash App to say, Google tailors its searches to each user, L-caller. Yeah. People need to be aware that the blurb is crazy. I posted a picture on my Instagram of a blurb. I was in a bar last night and one of my buddies looked up Oskar Quentin music, my handle, on I think it was on Instagram's AI blurb, and it said that I'm a Romanian hip hop artist. Yeah, go to my Instagram. It's hilarious. I got to get that picture on the computer so I can pull it up as my example of why you shouldn't trust the AI blurb, because it thinks that Oskar Quentin is a Romanian hip-hop artist and debate host. Half right. I'm not Romanian or a hip-hop artist. I am neither, for the record. Edwin sent me $15 on Cash App to say, "Hi, Oscar. I'm a new fan and I enjoy your content." Welcome to the party, Edwin. It's fucking crazy. And Michael sent me another dollar just to add, take a shot every time the caller says fallacy. Man, we're going to do some off TikTok streams eventually, and you guys are going to get to see me, breaking the TikTok rules. I would love to do a stream where people get to see how many shots Oskar Quentin can do before he's bad at debating. Let me know if you think that would be worth watching, because that can't happen on TikTok, but that can definitely happen on YouTube. And I'm not the square that I sometimes present myself to be on this show. I have more fun than that. Kenneth sent me $11. Do we have a message? He says, you should do a media bias fact check on FAIR. They are ranked very low for accurate information. Yeah, this is the sort of thing I need to work on. And for those of you working on the Discord, it's the sort of thing I need a little bit of help with. I need to update my book network, because I've fallen behind on keeping all the resources ready to refute these things as they come up. So I do need to, I want to have that ready to have the media bias chart out. It's a huge amount of work to keep that stuff ready. Do we have YouTube Super Chats to read? Oh my goodness. Yes, we do. Seb sent me £5, says, isn't U.S. tax based on citizenship rather than residency, so those kids are on the hook for life? Yeah, well, so to answer for the international viewers, our tax system here, our IRS, our Internal Revenue, what does the S stand for? Internal Revenue Service? The Internal Revenue Service, I think that's what it stands for. They don't care about illegal immigration, so they just let illegal immigrants pay taxes through something called a tax ID number instead of a social security number, which is what citizens get, because every citizen has a social security number, but illegal immigrants don't. So the IRS just allows it, but because they're illegal immigrants, they don't get the benefits that come with having a social security number. You need a social security number to get social security and stuff like that. So there's a disproportionate paying in that happens when they don't receive the benefits. But if you twist the numbers as aggressively as you can inflate the numbers a little bit for things like what it costs to give them services by including the cost of building the hospital as opposed to just the cost of using it, or including the cost of citizen children of illegal immigrants as a cost for illegal immigrants. You can inflate those numbers a little bit, and you can deflate the numbers by ignoring the other benefits that there are. And then, like another user called out, this doesn't even consider the fact that they're economically beneficial in the economy, in the free market, never mind the tax system, which is not free market. That's, by law. Anyway, lots of donations, so sorry for having a boring segment on the show. I'll remind everybody on TikTok to get double tapping away, because we're going to start taking some callers, and we're going to talk to Ari Samuel Rosen, who, is that a friendly caller? Not taking friendly callers yet. Might not take any friendly callers today. I'm kind of enjoying the high octane stream we're having today. How old are you?
I am 23.
Are you a Trump supporter?
I am not. I'm sorry. I'm a friendly caller fully. I have to admit it just as soon as you say that.
No worries. I am gonna, I might give you a few minutes at the end if you're still here in about 30 minutes, but I'm gonna check if this other caller in the queue is a debate. I do appreciate all the friendly callers. I know a lot of people want to come up and say that they appreciate what I do, and it warms my heart. Oh, Kristen, I didn't read your Venmo. Oh my goodness, it just came in a second ago. Thank you so much, Kristen. Kristen sent me $50. He kept saying delimiting to delineate is the word. He did mention their spending and our GDP, the high cost of ICE and mass deportation, and most important, what did he do to be an American? He was fucking born here. Well, that's just my ethical thing, is that I didn't do anything to be a citizen. I was born in New York. I just fell out of a vagina here. Why does that give me some, I grew up in New York, and it says on the fucking Statue of Liberty that we're supposed to give people life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what the country's about. That's what it was founded for. I'm just ranting now, but it's like, it says in the Constitution that the purpose of the government is to promote the general welfare, and the party that seems to be the claim to be the constitutionalists, the 2A crowd, are people who are anti-welfare, when it's not an amendment, it's not an article, it's like the fucking mission statement of the entire project of the country is to promote the general welfare. It's just absurd that people are upset about welfare, because at the end of the day, even if the caller was right, which he wasn't, about the fiscal burden of illegal immigration, we're still talking about educating children, which is just a good thing to do. Come on, like whether they came here by being born by somebody who was already a citizen or being born by somebody who wasn't a citizen, the point is we take people who are born here, we give them a good education, and then we let them benefit the country you gotta tell me why you got such big feelings about them being the children of illegal immigrants when the Constitution says you're not supposed to. It is the same feelings that you're basing that opinion on that caused people to not want African Americans to have citizenship, because the 14th Amendment was written as a solution to the fact that slaves weren't citizens and weren't being given citizenship. So it's just the same xenophobic, racist nonsense that doesn't have an ethical founding and doesn't have a legal founding, because constitutionally it's not even like, we don't even have to look at the legislation. We just have to look at the founding documents of the country, the amendments put on the Constitution over 100 years ago, ruled on by the Supreme Court over 100 years ago, long-standing stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for the gifts, everybody. It's a big deal to me that I get to do this full time. We're going to talk to Derek Edgerly, U.S., and I'd love to get one more debate in today. Hi. Hello, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am.
Okay, why?
Well, I think that what he's doing right now is going to be a short-term loss into a long-term.
So you're an accelerationist?
I don't know what that means.
An accelerationist is a label for a set of ideologies where you recognize that what Donald Trump is doing is catastrophic for American rule of law and society, but you want that collapse to happen because you think that the system that will be built afterwards is better. You want the phoenix to rise from the ashes.
Well, when you put it like that, I want to fuck your dead grandma and piss on her grave and make it really soggy and kill a nigger.
Okay, so, if you prod, right, you don't have to scratch very much to see what's under that thin veneer of having a reasonable position. That I think was an emotional response to me very, very quickly laying out his own argument in a way that made it look really bad. I think he was a little shocked and surprised that I was familiar with his type of argument. People like Dean Withers don't, Dean Withers as a rule doesn't debate with accelerationists, but I think it's worth giving them some kind of time, because it is one of the ways that people support Donald Trump. They know it's bad. They want the constitutional order to collapse, and I just argue that's bad. I just think that you're a bunch of brats if you think that. You take the security this country offers you for granted. You take for granted the fact that the grocery store always has food in it if you want society to collapse. I don't take for granted that because I get to order an inhaler online for $40, I get to not die. Because I would die if I didn't get it. I wish it was free. Wish healthcare was free. But I pay $40 and then I get this little device that stops me from dying every now and then when my body tries to kill me, which happens a couple times a week. I don't want that to stop. I want to avoid situations where that system stops working. So that's my argument against the accelerationists, that maybe you don't have an asthma inhaler to make it as obvious for you that it is to be that it would be bad for society to collapse, but you sure probably do use the grocery store. You probably do use the roads. You probably do like it that when the tree knocks down a power line in a thunderstorm, a bunch of qualified dudes show up in like a big old truck. A bunch of people come with fancy tools and expertise and fix that, even though you wouldn't know where to start on it and would probably get yourself killed if you tried. We're going to talk to Thumb Man I Am. And I'll remind everybody that the link tree is in my bio if you want to support the show, because, the show runs on donations. Thanks, everybody. I was a high school teacher and I quit my job. That's the news this week. So I get to talk about it. I get to talk about the fact that I was a high school teacher. I was a substitute high school teacher. That was my day job. Anyway. W's in the chat for Noodle. This is my dog Noodle while we're waiting for Thumb Man I Am to connect. She, every time I'm on the phone or if I do the live streams or if I just do a video call on the computer or anything like that, she gets jealous because she's a very jealous little social being. Everything has to be about Noodle. Isn't that right, Noodle? Yes. W's in the chat for Noodle. I don't think Thumb Man I Am is going to connect. We're going to disconnect him and move on to Caden. Wasn't Caden? Didn't we already try Caden? Mods, remind me which one Caden was. Was he the one who screamed the N-word? I don't want to risk it on him. Oh, do I want to risk it on Septic Salad? We're going to have that type of discourse for the rest of the show. I'd like to talk about something new with Septic Salad if he's going to be the other half of the show. Remind me how old you are, Septic Salad.
Yeah, I'm 40.
What are we talking about today?
Let's see. Short-term pain for long-term gain. that doesn't have to mean accelerationist. That can just mean that you put an investment down now, maybe inject money into something in hopes for, a return that's larger than the investment that you put in.
Yeah,
I don't know why you jumped straight to accelerationist.
Well, I asked him. Sorry, my dog's barking. Noodle, come here. Come on, girly. Sorry, she's an alert dog. There must be noise in the hallway. Noodle, come here. Yeah, so that's why I asked him. I didn't say, you're an accelerationist. Your argument is bad for these reasons. I asked him if he was an accelerationist. He didn't know what an accelerationist is, so I explained to him what an accelerationist is, and then he used the N-word on my show and said that he wanted to pee on my dead grandma or something horrible like that.
Yeah, I mean, you were right in that instance. I'm just wondering, why did you jump to that first rather than, just a lot of short-term pain that we're feeling as a country?
I asked because
benefits.
Short-term pain for long-term benefit. I suppose I made the minor assumption that he wasn't just talking about a bad inflation rate or something like that. He was just talking about something more serious. But again, that's why I asked. I chose that direction, which you can judge me for in terms of how I navigated the conversation. But I didn't assert anything about him that was false. I genuinely just asked if he was an accelerationist because that's the impression I got from the way that he talked about it. But he didn't even tell me if I was right or wrong about that. He just used the N-word and ran away.
Yeah. Well, I too like short-term pain for long-term gain, but not for acceleration reasons.
Yeah, I think that investing in yourself is reasonable. I mean, there are plenty of times where we do things that are in a short-term sense costly to the country. One of the things I think is generally difficult about the way that American politics works is that because people are short-sighted, it's very difficult for a president to present policies that are going to be bad in some kind of short-term way, but good in some sort of long-term way. In the past, Americans were less short-sighted, and they were able to recognize that. They were able to recognize that Kennedy put us on the moon, even though we landed there 6 years after he died, because he did expensive things during his presidency that you could look at the cost of and see there's no benefit to this. We're not winning the space race in Russia. We haven't gotten there yet, but this is expensive. But that would suit your argument that it was worth doing. We wanted to get to the moon. So I recognize your argument. I don't think it's a good one for what Trump is doing.
Well, and that's what Trump is doing right now. Okay.
Okay, we'll get into that in just a second, but I am going to thank Jacob, who just sent me a $20 YouTube super chat to say, "Hey, Oscar, just wanted to say how I really appreciate you for what you do and giving me good debates to listen to while I work on the tractor. Much love from a young democratic socialist in rural Colorado. Stay safe on that tractor, man. Hydraulic equipment's dangerous, but I'll be thinking of you if you're thinking of me. Thanks for watching." Why do you think that Trump is doing things that are going to be a net benefit to society in America?
Yeah, I think he's tackling the obesity epidemic in a more aggressive way than any prior president has ever done.
You don't think that
and the
Obama as first lady
is the number
did
one
any?
drag on our GDP.
I am with you that obesity is an enormous problem. No pun intended. I think that there's a lot of issues with the way that people in the 21st century engage with their own health. I think people are being irresponsible with the food they eat in a way that is unique in history because we've never had this availability of high sugar, unhealthy food. So I agree that that's a very big problem. What do you think Trump is doing to help that?
Yeah, so right now they're working on, making strict legal definitions within the FDA as to what ultra-processed foods are, so that when they put in the regulation that you have to have these front of package labels that giant warning signs against these that they have more substance, a substantive position when it eventually goes to court because corporate lobbyists and everything.
But you're talking about the policy actions of RFK, right?
Yeah, the Trump administration, of course.
Right. So this is a Trump appointee who also claimed that Tylenol causes autism. Right?
But that's irrelevant to ultra-processed foods.
So you're talking about using a determination to put labels on the front of foods, and what I'm saying is that the entity responsible for deciding what those labels are and how to enforce them and what rules to follow for what foods they belong on is an entity I don't trust, and that entity is Trump's Department of Health and Human Services.
Well, I mean, ultra-processed foods have been heavily studied. There's vast scientific research done on ultra-processed foods, so you don't have to trust Kennedy. You can just look at the research that's already been done for decades.
Ultra-processed foods are, on average, bad. I'm for reducing the amount that people depend on ultra processed foods. I think that that's a good mission statement. My problem with a lot of things that the Trump administration does under the guise of promoting the public welfare is that you can do something that sounds great, like say, oh, let's get ultra processed foods under control. But if the people determining how we label the foods are the same people who said that Tylenol causes autism, then I'm going to be concerned about whether or not the labels are going to be accurate and actually helpful to society, or if maybe they're going to, I don't know, accept bribes to put labels on the food of opponents of the people who gave them the bribes, something like, which I just made up. That's a speculation, but I don't think it's an unreasonable speculation given the fraud and abuse that this administration is very obviously in broad daylight guilty of.
Well, you'll be able to fact check that in real time with anything that has a front of package label, because
do you think that the average American is going to do that?
Information will be there too.
Yeah, that's not going to work on me. I don't struggle with my fitness. I don't struggle with my nutrition. I'm in super duper good shape. My mom has a degree in nutrition. I was raised in a household where you were taught to make good eating decisions. But I'm not the average person. The average person will be fooled by such a label if it requires fact checking.
Well, the average person will benefit from the label because, like you said, they don't specifically look at the nutrition information, and they don't necessarily understand the ingredients that are labeled on the nutrition section. So this will help people this will help people who don't speak English, and this will help people who don't look at the nutrition label. And you, if you have any compunction with what they're labeling, will be able to use the nutrition information to fact check it, which you can spread on the internet. So if there's anything that they're mislabeling, you'll be able to spread it on the internet. And
it is my full-time job to point out the misleading and false things that the administration is doing. Does that mean that the effect of those harmful pieces of misinformation is not there? Does it negate the fact that they're doing something catastrophically evil that affects the minds of most people who don't think about information the way that I do? Just because I can point out that a food label is bad doesn't mean that food label being on that food in the supermarket isn't going to have an enormous effect on the purchasing decisions of the average American, because the average American is not educated in the way that you just quite complimentarily said I am, because I do happen to be educated in that way. We're not talking about me. We're talking about the average person, right? The average consumer. We're talking about everybody. Everybody eats food.
But you understand, like, that you are coming from a presupposition that you're not going to trust the labels because of the source. But once the labels are there, you'll be able to fact check it, and then you'll see that the labels are properly placed, and that will, like you just said, massively affect buying habits of consumers.
You are asserting that the labels are going to be good, and that when I fact check them in the future, they will be good. Why do you think they're going to be good when the administration has released so much false information about health?
Because it will be able to be fact checked in real time, so they're not going to just blatantly.
I on this show have fact checked the notion that Tylenol is not responsible for autism when pregnant women take Tylenol. There's actually a thing that is in common here, which is that when pregnant women have fevers during their pregnancy, that's associated with autism. And people tend to take Tylenol to treat fevers, so it makes sense that these things are related, and it's hard to snuff out where the causal errors are. So I can fact check that, but that's still a harmful claim, because Tylenol prevents harm in society, because aggressive fevers are very dangerous, especially for children. And Tylenol is used to prevent those fevers from causing things like brain damage in young children. Like there's real adverse effects to high fevers that people are less likely to avoid if they believe this misinformation. So it is harmful whether or not I'm convinced of it, whether or not I'm sitting here. Not every mother who's making a decision about what medicine to take while pregnant or about what medicines to give her children is listening to the Oskar Quentin show on this particular Friday to hear that, hey lady, the Tylenol is not related to the autism. The fever is. You should definitely still take the Tylenol because it'll reduce the fever, therefore reducing the risk of autism, if that is what the link is, because we're not exactly 100% sure. But it's you have to have some nuanced understanding of how these sorts of data collection things and studies work to recognize that even though Tylenol is associated with autism, you still actually reduce your rate of autism in the child if you take the Tylenol, because we're tackling the fever. That is the thing that is common. People aren't super understanding about that. So I'm not excited that I get to have a job where I have to spell this shit out for people. I'm devastated that I live in a country where the government lies to its own people about this, and I am not understanding why you don't think that's a more enormous issue. There's 500 people watching, and a few thousand people watch the VODs after the fact, and I don't think this is going to make a big Instagram short that's going to get millions of views and educate the public about the possibility of these food labels being bad. I think you were just hand-waving away the notion that these food hand labels are going to be bad.
Okay, I mean, You go off on like a 3-minute tirade there, but this has nothing to do with Tylenol. And the administration.
I gave an example.
Autism.
I gave an example
but you
of
gave
a way in
false
which
example because they did not say that it causes autism. That your entire premise is false because that's not what they said. They said, hey, potential dangers, potential correlative link, and in studies we do see a potential correlative link, and you address that a possible causation for that correlative link is fevers
prior to that announcement, prior to RFK's. I remember it better. It's not irrelevant. Prior to the announcement that RFK made about the causal link, the correlated link between autism and Tylenol, you can chuckle because you know what I'm about to say. I think you know you're caught red-handed because Trump said that what was going to be announced by RFK was the cause of autism. So no, that is not the claim that the administration made. The administration specifically made the claim that they were going to announce the cause of autism, and at that press conference, they announced that it was Tylenol. So that's just false. You're just misrepresenting it.
They did not say it was the cause.
You used the more nuanced understanding that you already know that I have from the explanation that I just gave to give it a defensible position, because it is defensible to discuss the way that these things are related in the way that I just did. But as a matter of fact, that is not the story that the administration sold to the American people, and I think it's disingenuous for you to suggest that it is.
Trump oversold it before the announcement. The announcement itself, he did not say that
overselling false information about health is bad, and that is why I do not find Donald Trump's Health and Human Services Department to be credible.
They gave the correct information during the announcement. Yeah, Trump oversells everything. That's what he always does.
Oh, is the correct information in the fine print, but the big label at the top is wrong? That's the problem I'm talking about. I can read the fine print, you can read the fine print. People who listen to my show can become educated about how to handle these things in a way that's important. But that's only going to affect a small number of people who are educated and paying attention in that way. And the effect on most people in the grocery store is that they're going to see the label and believe that shit. They're not going to do all this extra stuff. And I am saying that we have a real big problem when a high-level government organization whose job it is to protect the health and safety of citizens of this country are lying and being disingenuous and dishonest about their findings in a way that might be saved by some fine print that some people will read. But I'm just too practical. I just understand the real world too well to not recognize that is the side minutia that has nothing to do with the fact that most people are just going to read the label and believe it. Most people are going to see the label on the food and not even consider that it came from Donald Trump's policies. They're just going to think it's the label on the box and trust it because people trust advertising in a way that's too powerful. That's something that we need to address in society separately. But currently it puts people in danger about their food purchasing decisions.
You're mischaracterizing what happened as a result of highlighting the Tylenol in the first place, because them highlighting it in the way that they did, what you're saying, big label versus small fine print. What it did was it made an explosive level of awareness across the entire country about what Tylenol is, what harm can come from
the average person
of Tylenol.
Overconsumption of Tylenol is very dangerous. Yeah. Yes, the recommended dose for an adult is 1,000.
It brought a ton of awareness of Tylenol.
I know I'm driving the
people, which is a good
That's
thing.
bullshit, and I'm going to say why. Because you are correct what you just said about Tylenol being dangerous. The recommended maximum 24-hour dose for an adult for acetaminophen, which is the generic name for the medicine that's in Tylenol, is 1,000 milligrams, and the overdose rate is 4,000 milligrams, and around about 7,000 milligrams, we get to a place where you really are in danger of your liver shutting down, and it's a horrible way to die of acetaminophen overdosing. So it is important that the public be educated that acetaminophen is to be handled with care. You should not pop acetaminophen or Tylenol willy-nilly. You should not mix Excedrin with Tylenol because Excedrin already has Tylenol in it. These are important things to educate the public about. I don't recall any of those things being mentioned during this press conference where, again, the entire purpose of the press conference...
brought education about that.
No, what I'm saying is that I'm saying that the average person in America was misled about Tylenol in the ways that I've described to you in the last few minutes. And it is bullshit for you to think this was an awareness campaign for the dangers of overdosing on acetaminophen, which I personally think there isn't enough awareness about. So I'll say it again. No more than 1,000 milligrams inside of 24 hours, especially if you're using children's recommended doses, which are going to be smaller than that. Read the bottle, because it's actually really easy to accidentally kill a child by giving them acetaminophen irresponsibly. That's important. That should get talked about. That's a bigger deal than the link to autism, because that's causally not actually linked. The Tylenol doesn't actually cause the autism. We know that to be catastrophically unlikely to be the case, to the point where it's not even worth arguing. But you're sitting here making up that your interpretation of this information is going to be, one, a good one, and two, the one that everybody else has. My interpretation is better than yours, but I can at least recognize it's not the one that most people are going to have, because I'm an educator and I understand what people conclude from the things that they look at.
What to do with ultra-processed foods? What I'm saying is this has nothing to do with ultra processed food.
I'm saying that
ultra processed foods are the biggest contributor to obesity in America.
Education around Tylenol is important. Education around ultra processed foods is.
You agree with my premise.
Let me finish what I was just going to. No, I want to make sure that you understand the reason I'm so stuck on this acetaminophen thing, because I recognize that proper education about acetaminophen is very important to people. I also recognize that proper education about ultra-processed foods is important. Here's the one-to-one comparison. The people who gave us information about Tylenol did a bad job in a way that misled the public in a way that I see to be very harmful, and I don't want to trust those people with making the decisions about the food labels. So that's my problem, is I don't want these people to be responsible for making these sorts of decisions about advertising, because they've proven themselves to be wholly irresponsible.
I think it brought awareness to a correlative link.
You're breaking up.
It brought awareness to a correlative link between Tylenol use and issues in utero, and that's fine. People do overconsume, even if they haven't hit the lethal limit of acetaminophen. They do overconsume it, and when in times when they don't need to, they over medicate themselves when they're having a fever.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you just because your service is bad, so I'm just gonna give you a moment to sort that out. But I will thank Jacob, who sent me $10 on YouTube Super Chat to say thank you for the impact you're making on education by doing your streams. I usually don't donate to streamers, but I can tell you have your heart in the right place and you care about our future. Thanks, dude. I'm trying. I was really sad when I turned in my keys at the high school I left my job at yesterday. To do this show instead, and I want to not feel silly about that, because it is like a little bit heartbreaking to give up an education job because I care so much about it. But I like to think that this is edutainment. I'm leveraging the fact that I'm entertaining and people want to watch me to get the education out. But I am a professional educator and I do really care about that stuff. So the fact that was meaningful enough for you to want to support what I'm doing is meaningful to me, and that's probably the most meaningful message I've received today. So thank you very much for that, Jacob. I really do appreciate it. Joe Cooper sent me $6 on Venmo to say, wait, so long-term ROI is a ballroom tariffs that were found unconstitutional, no economists agree with, and decreasing our population through deportation, versus the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, investing in healthcare and education. Yeah, nonsense. I don't know how these people wrap their heads around their own nonsense in such a way that they think that the outcome is going to be positive in the end. I don't get it at all. Melanie sent me another $5 on Venmo to say, how does this guest feel about natural supplements and vitamins, which are far less regulated? How does he feel about appropriate labeling of overdosing of vitamins A, D, E, and K in certain contexts? Yeah, there's a lot of avenues where I think government regulation around labeling is important. I think that's a good thing to do. Even if it is a little bigger government, it's just how it makes people make better decisions. It allows people it prevents people from being dishonest in their advertising for capitalistic reasons instead of protecting people's health and safety. And people's health and safety is so dependent on the food that they eat and the supplements they take, the medicines that they take, that I don't respect the rights of those manufacturers of those things. I don't think that their right to freely label their shit however they want is more important than the right of a person to be accurately educated and advertised to honestly about what they're putting into their body. That's just so much more important than the profits of Johnson & Johnson or whoever the fuck is involved in your food or medicine process or whatever. Let me hop over to Cash App. I've been getting a lot of donations today. Today's a good day for Oscar paying his bills running the show, so forgive me for those listening after the fact who don't care how many donations I got on this particular Friday, but I gotta thank the people that support the show. Let's get back to Septic Salad and just check if his service is working again. I sent you an invitation to unmute. Are you there?
Yeah.
Sorry
so
for the interruption.
Then you agree with Trump.
About what?
About the labeling of these foods and the impact that it'll have on our health.
Because if I was in Trump's shoes, I wouldn't have appointed RFK to be the head of the department that labels the foods or makes the rules about the food labeling. I think that was grossly irresponsible of him to do. I would make a more responsible decision about who I'd appointed to that department. So no, while I recognize that the problem is important, I disagree wholly with his approach to it. And I also speculatively accuse him
aggressively for this.
Okay.
First president to push aggressively for this kind of thing, and that's great. You may disagree with RFK Jr.'s assessment on certain things, and you admitted that there is a correlative link. So bringing awareness correlative link.
No, I already answered to that. Stop going back in circles. Who cares? I fucking care. I explained so clearly why I care that I think it's disingenuous to ask a question like that, because I have so thoroughly already responded to that, and I just from talking to you don't think you're too stupid to have understood my argument. I think that you just don't care, and you're going to keep ignoring what I said a few minutes ago and saying the same things.
I disagree with your assessment of the outcome. I don't think that's what the outcome was. I think that awareness is spread, and I think that we're all better for it. So you disagree with that point, that's fine. You can disagree. You can think that, oh, it was such a bad outcome, and then people are going to die now because Tylenol, but they're not. You'd just be wrong. But we agree on the ultra-processed foods and increase in labels. And, I mean, you just disagree with RFK Jr. who did it, I guess. I mean, it's just like, did you get the COVID vaccine? Despite that, Operation Warp Speed, Trump was the one who brought it.
Operation Warp Speed was a good program. Operation Warp Speed was a very good program.
Okay, so it doesn't matter who does it if the program is good. So
yes.
Trump's administration is doing a great thing.
No, they're not, for reasons I've described.
And he leveraged tariffs to force GLP-1 companies to drop their prices.
Now you're just flailing. You're just saying shit. I'm going to talk over you and say that Krista Lynn sent me $6.66 on Cash App. She says, I appreciate you leaving your work to educate people. Yeah, dude, you're just like spitballing random shit now. Like you're just making the same argument you made a moment ago. And what I'm saying is that while I would be in favor of a food labeling enforcement program, like some sort of regulative legislation about how people should do that, but I would trust experts who have a good track record of making good decisions about people's health, and RFK and Donald Trump are no such people. That's my concern, that you are just flatly ignoring in all of this, and you are continuing to attempt to discredit the fact that what they did with Tylenol was fucking grossly irresponsible, even though you can you admit that you were wrong, because Donald Trump specifically said that the announcement was going to be about the cause of autism, and then they brought up acetaminophen, which convinced many people in the public that acetaminophen is the thing that was causing autism. Tylenol, for people just joining, acetaminophen is the generic name of the medicine that's in Tylenol. Do you recognize that that was a flatly dishonest thing to do that put misinformations in the brains of the American public?
For anyone who made that link and did not pay attention to the actual announcement, I mean, that's on them.
No, it's not. The messaging of the president is important, and one of the things that the president has to do is be responsible in their messaging. If I was president, it wouldn't be acceptable for me to say, well, actually, what I said was a very technically complicated explanation that if you write down on paper and do a flowchart of what exactly all the clauses of the sentence are, it's technically accurate information that nobody could understood. But when we told it to a bunch of dumbasses, the average dumbass thought that it meant this. That would be irresponsible of me. It is the job of the president to do a better job with messaging than that.
I already disagreed with your assessment of the outcome. I said that overall, the benefit of the awareness that it spread outweighs whatever individual case of person who internalized a wrong message in their head. I would say the overall awareness balanced that out and then some. So
I'm a professional educator. It's been my job to stand in a classroom with students and teach them. And if I gave an explanation that misled most of the students into getting the answers wrong on the test, that would reflect poorly on me as a teacher, right?
And what I'm saying is that most people...
Yes or no, that would reflect poorly on me. I asked a question. Yes or no, that would reflect poorly on me as a teacher.
Yes, that would reflect poorly on you as a teacher.
Do you think that Donald Trump and RFK's actions around that press conference and announcement increased the number of people in this country that thought that Tylenol was the cause of autism?
No.
I don't believe you. I think you do know that.
I think it informed more people than it may have misinformed.
I don't believe you. I think you just lied through your teeth. I think you know that it informed. I think you know
more people than. I think it informed more people than it may have misled. Like if you're talking,
I would even argue that even if that's true, if 2/3 of people got the right information, but 1/3 of people didn't, that's still bad because the misinformation is more dangerous than the accurate information. The accurate information is actually not that helpful. That there's a cause.
I would say spreading the accurate information, I would say, outweighs any kind of negatives that you were talking about. Again,
no,
so
that's ridiculous.
I disagree with your assessment of the outcome.
No. What is the bad decision what is the good decision a person's going to make based on the information that came out about Tylenol being correlated with autism through fevers is the mechanism they think
they're going to reduce their consumption.
They shouldn't though. That's the bad. You have the wrong understanding. That's a bad conclusion. No. Why would you? If the cause of the autism. No, you don't get it.
Fevers.
No,
there are other ways to treat fevers than medication, than injecting chemicals into your body.
Okay, but you understand that if a woman is pregnant and she has a fever, that's a danger for the baby.
And she has a fever. Yes.
Right.
And there are ways
if you can mitigate a fever with Tylenol, that's good for the baby. But because people do that, that's where the correlation comes from. You yourself don't understand it.
You can do it with other things that are more
Not
natural,
relevant.
less chemicals in your body, less correlative to
So what?
potentially causing in utero issues. So,
They're not going to be less correlative. If the thing that causes the autism, which the doctors are becoming more and more sure, is probably the fevers during the pregnancy. That's not the only thing that causes autism, but it's correlated to it in a way that they think there actually is a causal link. What you're saying is that they shouldn't use Tylenol, even though the Tylenol isn't the thing causing the autism potentially. You're saying they shouldn't use. But if they but you said that they would be making the good decision to use it less and use alternative methods of treating a fever. But Tylenol is very effective at treating fevers. So if you tried something else to avoid the Tylenol, you might end up with a worse fever, which would have a worse effect on the likely outcome of it.
We don't know.
You don't understand it yourself.
We don't know if there are secondary effects of the acetaminophen itself that is causing issues in your body. We don't know if those are causing issues. So.
Dude, you're demonstrating that the misinformation has worked on you. Like, what a delicious way to end this episode. You have it misunderstood. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. Thank you, Bernardo, for the $15 on Cash App. He said, "Thank you for being you. You're an inspiration." I wouldn't go so far, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And he leveraged terrorists to lower GLP-1 costs.
Thank you so much, Jazz Bearing Crab, for the $5 YouTube super chat. RFK literally wanted to set up a database for tracking autistic people. He was 1,000% blaming Tylenol as the direct cause because he's obsessed with us. Yeah, dude, it's fucking horseshit. Thank you, Jazz Bearing Crab, for the $5 and for that additional piece of information. Oh my goodness, there's more rolling in. What did Melanie want to say? Melanie said, "Let's not forget the number of poisonings that increased when Trump talked about the ingestions of bleach and disinfectant for COVID and how companies had to put out messaging the very next day." Oh, I agree. I just decided to focus on this one particularly egregious thing that he did. Thank you so much for the $5 on Venmo, Melanie. But we could talk about the fact that this is a president that promotes the consumption of McDonald's food, of all things. He does photo ops. RFK, credit where it's due, that motherfucker doesn't like eating McDonald's because it's bad for you. And I love the pictures of him on Air Force One with a burger going, "Oh, it's so tasty. I want to eat this." Smile for the picture.
Cost of Ozempic?
What?
Lower cost of Ozempic? Lower cost of GLP-1 weight loss drugs? I
don't have strong feelings about that. I think that people with greater availability to those drugs will make less wise decisions about their own health. And while I think they should have the freedom to do that, I'm just not excited about it because I think that most people who take those sorts of medications would be better served if they got in check with whatever was the root cause of their weight issue, which those drugs don't.
We're already seeing a huge dip in obesity rates directly caused by Ozempic and GLP-1 drugs.
Yes, and we could reduce
the board,
right,
and making them
and we could reduce the number of bank robberies. We could reduce the number of bank robberies if we killed every person on the planet. Just because you get one particular metric to reduce, which is the obesity rate, by giving people drugs that reduce their weight, that doesn't mean that the net benefit of doing that is good for those people.
Now you're getting to the point. What is the major contributor to almost all chronic illnesses that people are suffering from in the United States?
Obesity, but giving a person
it's obesity.
It is obesity, but that doesn't mean that a drug that gets rid of the obesity means that person's going to have a happy and healthy life, because there's still a person who makes bad health decisions. A person can be under a healthy weight and not healthy nutritionally, and that's something that happens a lot to people who lose their weight through drugs because they don't improve their diet, they don't improve their exercise, they don't improve the quality of sleep they're getting, they don't make the actual changes.
Yes, and there's already studies that 45% of the people do, where they do.
Katie sent me a YouTube super chat for $2 to say. Katie sent me a $2 YouTube super chat just to say Tylenol bad, Ozempic good. Got it. Shake my head. I appreciate you. I also appreciate Christian, who sent me another $10 on Venmo to say there are 2 doctors listening crashing out, an epidemiologist and I'm an ER physician, had children die from not giving Tylenol from that advice. Non-medical professionals shouldn't give any advice ever, RFK included. Christian, thank you so much for your service to the medical community. I really appreciate you spending your life on that. I really have a special place in my heart for people like you. And thank you for contributing to the show by crashing out in the chat, because people absolutely should be crashing out in the chat because of the things that my guest is saying. Joe Cooper sent me another $6 to say, wait, Tylenol, a drug that has been around forever and thoroughly studied, bad, but GLP-1 that has almost no research and more chemicals and unknown causes good? This is the brain rot of Maha. Also deregulation of PFAS and pesticides. I completely agree. We don't have good longitudinal studies on the effects of GLP-1 drugs, and you're saying here that because you're reducing their weight through the use of GLP-1 drugs, they're necessarily going to have better outcomes for, I assume you mean things like heart ailments and later life issues that are caused by being obese. You don't have evidence of that. You're just assuming it. And I have some good argument for the fact that these people are still in danger of bad lifestyles, especially if there's later regulation of these drugs that they're now dependent on, or if they find...
There have been a significant amount of studies. That's why I came up with about nearly 50% of people who have gotten off the drugs are able to make the long-term lifestyle choices to stay in at that weight. And like
Tim Davidson
they have actually been studying this for a long time.
Tim over on YouTube has
data out there.
Tim over on YouTube for a $5 YouTube super chat has a question for you, which is methamphetamines cause you to lose weight. Do we prescribe them to everybody?
That sounds like a disingenuous, bad faith question.
I think that your argument is disingenuous and bad faith generally, because I've spoken to you before, and you tend to go down these deep rabbit holes where you try to overwhelm me with correlative data and things.
Hole at all.
This is a pretty deep rabbit hole. This minutia we're talking about, Tylenol and stuff. This is pretty deep a rabbit hole for the show, and I'm accusing you.
You pushed it to Tylenol. I kept pushing it to health. You pushed it to Tylenol, so you kept pivoting.
That's fair. That's fair. It's my
because see, Trump said a bad thing. Because see, that's not a good argument. It's not a good discussion about what is actually ailing our country.
I think trusting the advice of the Department of Health and Human Services right now, I think that I've made some pretty good arguments against that.
No, you just said Trump said bad thing, but the RFK didn't even say
Trump
thing.
said bad thing. That is your summary of my argument. That is the guest's capacity to understand my position.
Saying. That's all you keep doing is you're like, oh well. It's
no,
really
I think I
said it. And
I think I said a little more than that.
You know,
I think I explained why. I think I explained very clearly why it's bad that he said that. Do you think it's fair to suggest that I only said it was bad and that I didn't explain why?
I mean, you gave an assessment that like, oh, well, it increased the number of misinformed people, and then my counterpoint was that it increased the awareness, so which outweighs whatever.
I disagreed about the fact that what little awareness.
And then that's why I brought it back to GLP-1s, because this is a multi-pronged issue that we have to attack from multiple directions. We have to get the ultra-processed foods out of our diets. We gotta. For severely obese people or people who have had this issue for a long time, and that's where we see GLP-1s being most effective in the ages between 45 and like 65, and which are the most at risk for things like complications from diabetes and cardio events. Like, yes, this is a multi-pronged issue, and Trump is tackling this like no other administration has before, and the long-term benefits of this are going to be astronomical. Like, if we can get our obesity rates down to just the levels of other developed nations, we'll be paying down our debt every year, just with the availability of labor, people off of the disability.
You're just rambling now. You got anything before I let you go? The show's over.
Yeah. So make America healthy again. We agree. I'm glad.
Fuck you for saying that, dude. It's so disingenuous to say that because I value people's health, I agree with this particular movement that's like on our slogan. It's just such a disingenuous thing to do. I don't like that caller at all. I think he's an awful person. I think he's pretty good for the show, though. Thanks very much for the donations, everybody. I'll give my big shout out to Septic Salad for being the caller that got so many people to want to get a word in edgewise that they sent me all those donations. I really do appreciate it, having quit my job to run the show. I will say, as the end card for the show, there's a link tree in my bio where you can go follow me on the other platforms, and that helps me for free, and I particularly lately have been shouting out that you should go to that link tree and scroll all the way down to the bottom and follow my other two TikTok accounts, Oskar Quentin 2 and Oskar Quentin Music. Those are my backup accounts for when this account gets banned for some nonsense if I say the wrong word or something. It hasn't happened in like months, but I don't know. I feel like I'm due to get a ban. So I'll read out TTO Leaf. Can't read the username. $9 New Zealand. IDKY, he thinks obesity is a new issue that only JFK can fix. People know the info. It's a cultural issue. Also, RFK wants to rescind PFAS limits, or PFA limits. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a systemic societal issue, and I'm much more about grassroots solutions. A lot of the issues that are systemic in society like that I'm worried about, I want to fix with education. I grew up in a household where I was really educated about fitness and nutrition, and I've been able to navigate that in my life well, and I think we need to change the zeitgeist around people's own relationship with their bodies a little bit through some education about making good decisions in the kitchen and in the gym and all that. Araxis sent me $3 on Cash App to say, I remember every time a Dem tried, they cried. Yeah, right? Because all the attempts to make America healthy by Democrats are things that the Republicans cried out about because it made the government bigger. ridiculous hypocrisy. They were furious with Obama for Michelle Obama for trying to get kids out to play. Absolutely ridiculous. Completely disingenuous and unfair. And just people have amnesia. They believe what they hear on the TV. Whatever Trump says is what they're supposed to do is what they're supposed to do, even if somebody like me has good arguments against a bunch of it. That's the show for the day, everybody. The show going forward is going to be 10 to 12 Central Time here on TikTok Live and on YouTube. So you can follow me on either. If you want to watch the VODs after the fact, you can find all the old episodes on my YouTube and listen to it as a podcast. Audio versions only are coming soon. W's in the chat for the mods, because the mods keep the show running. They do a little bit of fact checking. Extra special W's in the chat for Will, who totally rescued me on a topic I was a little overwhelmed by bad information about in the moment. But that happens sometimes on the show. There are effective ways to try to trample somebody like me. You know, thanks to the mods, it didn't work on me today. I will see you guys in about 22 hours right here on whatever platform you're watching this on. I'll see you then.